Sure.
It's interesting. What is in these text messages?
I don't know. I'm wondering if they're just
Yeah, I'm wondering what's going on.
showing, maybe they're showing just humanizing it, maybe.
Yes.
Could be.
Another sidebar?
Hold on. Oh,
Oh.
there's two people back here. No.
Sidebar.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah.
And just for the record, Your Honor, I would ask at this point to strike whatever, I don't think there was a whole lot done on that page, but whatever that was did not
Yes,
seem to be
it was an I don't know answer. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
They want the I don't know struck.
So jurors disregard that last question and answer.
Okay. Strike the I don't know. Okay, Jackson. Earn your money, I guess. You're $500 an hour.
Strike the I don't know. Please note, the I don't know has been struck from the record.
That just cost you 10 grand.
Yes.
And so my apologies for that. With regard to this, first of all,
Yes, I can now, blank.
Who's it from and what is it?
From JJ, you guys around tonight.
So I'm just coming if you could scroll down. And with respect to that next blue bubble, who is it from and what is it?
From me, Kate is working. I'm around. Madeline Michael is going to the Loose to play with a friend.
And what is the loose play?
The Loose is a elementary school.
They went to the bar that night, I think.
Play,
The,
something
to
happened.
play, there's a park down there. Activities for kids.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to the next bubble. And again, who is it from and what does it say, sir?
From JJ. Okay. At the driveway with her now. I'll text on my way back.
Could that be at the doctor?
Could be.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to the next bubble. And again, who is it from and what does it say?
Oh, Don. From me to JJ, everything okay.
And if you could, down to the next bubble, Ms. Gilman. And again, who is it from and what does it say?
From JJ. Yes, stupid shit.
And if you could scroll down to the next bubble, Ms. Gilman. Again, fair to say that one's blank? Or as far as no text, but may have been something.
Yeah. And go back to the microphone or
They're getting Tom CPU. No joking. That was a joke.
Oh, they're doing cartel shit.
It's come out of the next
telling
bubble,
you.
no text, is that correct?
Correct.
and now you can move out of the way. I just wanted that question.
The next bubble below that, green one, again, who is it from and what does it say, sir?
From Johnny. Just told Dr. Jin that they both got into fiend.
And if you could scroll down to the next bubble. And again, green bubble, who is it from and what does it say, sir?
From Johnny. Want to drop Madeline off and hit the hillside for a bit.
And what is a hillside, sir?
It's a pub.
And where is it located?
Canton.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to that. The blue bubble on the screen, who is that from and what does it say?
It's from me to Johnny. I probably won't get to your house till 5:30.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to that. Again, that green bubble, who is it from and what does it say?
From Johnny. Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to that. And again, the blue bubble on the screen, who is it from and what does it say?
From me. I am leaving in 10. Johnny. Okay.
Hold on 1 second, sir. Just for the news.
Okay, sir. And the next screen bubble.
Could you answer again, please?
Yes. From JJ. Okay.
Thank you.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down one last time, and that's, thank you. Ms. Gilman, you can, Your Honor, may I approach just to retrieve?
Yes.
You're welcome.
Now, Mr. Camerata, with regard to your statement in the text as far as leaving now, where were you leaving and where were you going to?
Leaving my house, going to John's house.
And who, if anyone, was going with you at that time?
My daughter.
And if you know approximately what time did you arrive at Mr. O'Keefe's house?
I don't.
Now, through your friendship with Mr. O'Keefe, did you become familiar with a person named Karen Reed?
Yes.
And how did you become familiar with her, and who, if anyone, was she to Mr. O'Keefe as far as you?
John introduced me to her. She was John's girlfriend.
And just to be clear, do you see Miss Reed in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Could you just identify as to where she's seated or an article of clothing that she's wearing?
She's seating right there.
No, just ask the record to reflect identification and identify the witness.
Yes.
Now, with regard to Miss Reed, prior to that date of January 28, 2022, how long had you known Miss Reed?
A year?
Do you recall approximately when you met her?
No.
And as far as you were aware, where Mr. O'Keefe lived, did Miss Reed live there as well?
Yes, not full time.
So she had a house of her own, as far as you knew.
Correct.
And about how often on a given week would you see Mr. O'Keefe?
Couple times.
And about how often would you see Miss Reed?
I would see her also.
Now, as far as your relationship with Mr. O'Keefe and or Miss Reed, would there be occasions where you would see Mr. O'Keefe without Miss Reed?
Correct. Yes.
Would there be any occasion where you would see Miss Reed without Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
And where would that be?
At the house. Maybe at Fields.
Now, with reference to their relationship, what, if any, conversation did you have with Mr. O'Keefe in regard to his relationship with Miss Reed?
Objection.
Sustain. We need a time frame.
In the time period around, say, the weeks leading up to January 28, 2022, what, if any, conversation do you recall having with Mr. O'Keefe in regard to his relationship with Miss Reed?
Just regular guy conversations.
Anything specific that you can recall?
No.
When you arrived at the house, or typically when you would come over to Mr. O'Keefe's house, where is it that you would park?
In the driveway to the right.
And is that what you did on this particular day?
Yes.
When you arrived at the house, where did you go?
Into the house.
Yourself and your daughter?
Yes.
And when you got in there, who, if anyone, was at the house at that time?
Kaylee and John.
And what is it that you did, or what is it that occurred while you were in the house?
Excuse me?
What happened in the house?
We were just congratulating the girls, talking about how good it's going to be, different school, and just really excited for the girls.
And at some point, did yourself and Mr. O'Keefe make plans to leave the house?
Yes.
And where did you go?
We went down to McCarthy's.
And is that CF McCarthy's?
Correct.
Is that an establishment? Where is it?
It's in Canton Center.
About how far away from Mr. O'Keefe's house?
5-10 minutes.
And is that somewhere that you're familiar with? You've been before?
Not frequently, no.
Now, with regard to, you know approximately what time you left Mr. O'Keefe's house and went to see if McCarthy's?
I don't.
And where were the girls when the two of you went to see if McCarthy's?
They were in the house.
And at the time that you left there and went to see if McCarthy's, who, if anyone else, were there any plans as far as meeting anybody else there?
I'm supposed to meet Karen.
Now, prior to leaving the house, what, if anything, did you or Mr. O'Keefe do with reference to the vehicles that were in the driveway?
So when we were leaving the house, I was parked in the driveway. John was parked on the left side of the driveway. John asked me to, I backed up so John could move his car out of the way so Karen could pull her car into the garage because of the snowstorm.
I'm sorry, you said because of the what now?
Snowstorm?
And as far as the snowstorm was concerned, what, if anything, did you know at that point in regard to that?
We were supposed to get a lot of snow.
I may have just one moment, Ron.
Yes.
Wait a minute. So Karen pulled her car into the garage, but she showed up at the bar in her car.
Right.
I'm just trying to remember.
A little weird.
With the court's permission, I would ask that Ms. Yeoman be allowed to publish a part of Exhibit 6, which is the driveway of the ring video.
Okay.
So our normal routine was to park our car in the garage.
Well, because of the snowstorm, but
Ms. Yeoman, if I could ask for
This
video
could-
number 145.
sink it.
That's,
We'll see.
I'm confused now.
Yeah, because I thought it was John who kept his car in the garage.
Recognize what's up on
That's what I,
Yes,
And what do you recognize? That
Okay,
is?
let's
Kathy, that's what I thought too.
myself and my daughter.
And as far as, may I approach the witness again, Your Honor?
Yes.
And this is the night of.
Uh-huh.
So just before you hear, this is a laser pointer. Just press that button.
Okay.
Interesting.
And Ms. Cameron, using that laser pointer that you now have with you, if you could direct the jury's attention to where in this video you observe yourself and your dog. And
Could
there
we
are two
see it?
vehicles in this sort of frame, is that correct?
Yes.
And if you could, using the laser pointer, just describe to the jury whose car is who and where it is.
The white car is mine.
Camera
The
person?
SUV is John's.
That's Hughes Jones.
Now, as far as
Why is he not showing it?
the ring system
Yeah,
that Mr.
why-
O'Keefe had at his house,
Truck to our TV.
I
as far as your
I wanna
knowledge
see
of
what
it,
he's
what,
talking
if
about.
anything,
Wait, we stop talking.
would the two of you do with reference to sort of picking up or dropping off kids in the ring video?
Yes, he had a
can somebody
camera, so
poke
like
that
I'd always
cameraman
wave
in
or
the ribs?
give him, I always knew that he was like watching.
And do you know how he was watching if he wasn't home?
Yes, on his phone.
So would that be sort of a running joke between the two of you?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Gilman, if you could play this. Ms. Gilman, if you could just pause it there briefly. Now, Mr. Camerata, are you familiar with Mr. O'Keefe's house? You've been there plenty of times, correct?
Yes.
And with reference to sort of where you and your daughter sort of exited from the screen, what, if any, sort of entrances to the home are located in that area?
2 garage doors.
And are you familiar with that garage area?
Yes.
Is that typically how you would enter the house?
Yes.
And with regard to sort of the condition of the garage, was Mr. O'Keefe particular about that?
Yes. He was.
And how so?
He always kept things very tight. He was like OCD.
And so as far as how many garage doors, as far as, and what I mean by garage doors is sort of electronic up, up and
So there's
down.
2 garage doors that go up and down, and there's a door. Just a single entry door.
On the left, as far as the left door.
There was an old classic car he had, convertible.
And then as far as the right door,
Was empty.
and once beyond those sort of bay doors that go up and down, what, if any, other entranceway into the garage was?
There's a side door.
And if you recall, when you were entering at that time on the 28th with your daughter, how did you enter it?
We went to the garage door, electric door.
And was that something, what, if anything, was affixed to those garage doors as far as security was concerned, beyond the
A keypad. We'd have to punch in a key.
And at the time or at any time, were you familiar with what that passcode was?
Yes.
Now, when you walk into the garage, how is it that you get from the garage to the house?
You walk into the garage and you walk up 3 steps and you go into a door.
And then once you sort of walk up the 3 steps and go into the door, what part of the house are you in when you enter?
You pretty much in the kitchen.
And you mentioned that Mr. O'Keefe was meticulous, if not OCD, when it came to the garage. How did that relate to how he kept the house?
The same. Everything was very tidy. When you walked in the door into the house, to the left, you put your shoes, your coats would be hung there.
And as far as shoes were concerned, is that something that you wore inside the house?
He'd rather you not.
And that was pretty well known to people that had been there before, correct?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Gilman, from the same exhibit, if I could, actually, I'm sorry. Your Honor, with regard to the next video that's not contained on this Exhibit 5 from the same video, I would offer that at this time as the next exhibit.
And there was no objection, Mr. Jackson?
No objection.
Okay.
Exhibit 49.
Thank you.
Your Honor, for the record, this would relate to Exhibit 6 and it's video number 148. And with the court's permission, may I publish that? Your Honor?
Yes.
I would love to watch the video. Be great. Thank you, cameraman.
Okay, so there's that.
What does this actually prove, though?
Well,
Wait a
the
minute.
car was
Wait a minute. Is that car moved in a different position than it was in the video when she backed up?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was
yes,
just-
that is in a
That's
totally
on
different
video,
position
sir.
because it was closer by the garage doors.
As video
Yeah.
Exactly.
148.
Yeah.
That was what you had testified.
That's a different position. That means the car might have been
Correct.
moved.
And why was that again?
So Karen could pull in the driveway, in the garage, excuse me.
So the expectation, from your understanding, is that Ms. Reed was coming back to the house at Meadows later on that evening.
Correct.
Oh, no,
Now,
B. Tim, that's John's
as-
vehicle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's John's vehicle.
On the screen there.
No, that one's in the right spot. I thought that was
Listen, listen,
Karen's
listen.
vehicle that he was moving.
Yes,
And as far as what you observed in that video, what you recall from that evening, is that how he was dressed that evening?
yes,
And when I say how he was dressed, for sort of the entirety of the time that you were with him.
yes,
So it's January 28th. You recall, you indicated there was a snowstorm coming. It was cold out, is that correct?
correct.
And with reference to that was Mr. O'Keefe someone that would typically wear a coat?
No,
And ever? That you can recall?
never that I could recall.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, with reference to that same Exhibit 6, if I could publish video number 149.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just checking. I think it is the same position. I was wrong. I was just checking with the other video.
I apologize. I thought that was Karen's SUV that he moved. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought that he did too. Yeah, I was wrong there too. I thought the cars were moved, but they weren't.
It's all
I-
over the driveway.
Sorry. Here we all think we were smarter than the jury and the judge.
At least we correct ourselves.
Hey, Kodo.
That's the biggest part. Good morning, Kodo.
And Ms. Gilman, for the sake of time, and, yes, you can break that. So from that video, Mr. Camerano, what is it that you and Mr. O'Keefe are doing in that video?
Heading down to McCarthy's.
Now,
Do you want the lights on, Mr. Lally?
yes.
Thank you.
Morning, T-Berry.
Now,
Morning,
at some
Kodo,
point
and run for
after you
scissors.
arrive at C.F. McCarthy's, who, if anyone else, sort of joins your group?
Kurt,
And that'd be Kirk Roberts, is that
correct.
And how was it that he came to C.F. McCarthy's that night, if you know?
I texted him.
And in general terms, what do you call sort of what that text communication was like between yourself and Mr. Roberts?
Yes, he said he was busy. He was doing something that I texted him that he was a pussy.
And following that text, did Mr. Roberts eventually arrive at C.F. McCarthy's?
He showed up, yes.
And about how long after you and Mr. O'Keefe arrived did Kurt show up?
I would like to say maybe an hour.
And if you know, when was it that at some point you indicated Ms. Reed appeared at C.F. McCarthy's as well?
Correct.
My
And do you know
gosh.
about how long after yourself and John arrived that Ms. Reed?
I don't.
Now, with reference to that establishment of C.F. McCarthy's, are you aware or have you become aware that there was surveillance video from inside the bar that night?
Yes,
You've seen some of that footage, is that correct?
yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'll want to seek to introduce and admit the surveillance video of C.F. McCarthy's as the next exhibit.
And there's no objection, Mr. Jackson.
There's none.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tori.
Just thought that Banfield might need to
With the
remove a
court's
certain
permission, I
video.
would seek to publish portions of that video for the jury at this time.
Okay.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could, from that video, the first, the first video. If I could ask you to play from about 7 minutes and 40 seconds, and we'll go through about 9 minutes.
I wonder if this is to establish her drinking at the bar, maybe?
Would you pause it just a-
Maybe.
Now, you
Possible.
recognize what's up on the screen, Mr. Camerano?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that to?
CF McCarthy's.
And yourself and Mr. O'Keefe are not in frame at this time, is that correct?
No.
If you could, using the laser pointer before you, if you could direct the jury's attention to where it was about in reference to the bar that you and Mr. O'Keefe eventually came to congregate that.
These seats here?
And from this video, from your time there that night or prior occasions, can you see sort of where the front door is to the establishment?
Yes.
Could you direct the jury's attention to where that is? And so what I'm going to ask in just a moment is for Ms. Gilman to press play, and then what I'd ask you to do is if you could just direct the jury's attention to when, if at all, you observe yourself and Mr. O'Keefe watching.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if you could. Ms. Cameron, if you could pause it right there. And just, I'm sorry, Mr. Cameron, you're directing with the laser pointer to the
Sorry.
screen. If you could just describe what you're directing, please.
That is me. And that is John.
And thank you, sir.
Well-
Ms. Gilman, if you could just, again, play this through the 9 minutes.
Seems like they're breaking up to me, Karen and John. If he's going to celebrate, he doesn't invite her.
Yeah, so she didn't go with them.
Yeah.
So then you were right, Heels,
Yeah.
when you
I
said
heard
that yesterday.
Oh,
That-
fuck.
He went out with his buddy first, and then she met him there.
Yeah.
Maybe this was him breaking up.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she hit him with the car, was because he said he doesn't want to be around her anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
So I don't see a belt. When he just stood up, I didn't see
yeah, I
a
don't
belt.
see a belt. No.
I didn't see
no
a
belt.
belt either.
Interesting, y'all.
Very interesting.
And I wonder, did she just happen to know his locale? Well, I mean, it's such a small town, I'm sure, and she knows where he hung out. Did he invite her to come join him, or did she just do a pop-up?
I'm pretty sure she probably popped up, in my opinion. I don't think.
Probably out driving the streets looking for his car.
They're at CF McCarthy's now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she seems to be a very jealous woman, in my opinion, based on the Theo Rubin.
That's
incident.
where it came in that paperwork that she met him there at the CF McCarthy's.
Now,
Because they
I
were
want to
there-
know where Higgins is.
Where what?
Higgins. I guess he's at the other bar.
He would be at the waterfall.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see him here at CF McCarthy's.
And Your Honor, for the record, I think we're at about 9 minutes and 41 seconds or so.
Okay.
So with reference to CF McCarthy's, you went there, had some, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what you were drinking or what John was drinking that night?
Beer?
Is that sort of typical for the two of you?
Yes.
Do you recall sort of, was that from the tap, a bottle, or something?
From the bottle?
And do you recall what type of beer typically you would drink or Mr. O'Keefe would drink?
Bud Light?
And do you recall specifically that's what you had that night, or that's just what you typically had?
Typically, I think we had Bud Light.
And if you know approximately how many beers or how many drinks did you have over the course of your time at CF McCarthy's?
I don't.
As far as yourself versus Mr. O'Keefe, do you recall sort of in relation to each other how much you each had to drink?
Not maybe 6 beers.
And what I'm asking, sir, is it's not like, did one of you have 10 and one of you had 2, or was it sort of commensurate with each other?
Commensurate, one for one. I would,
So essentially you're buying rounds as you go along.
correct.
Now, from your time at CF McCarthy's, how would you describe sort of the tone or sort of the demeanor within the group that you were in that night?
Pretty good.
So no arguments, no fighting, anything like that. You recall.
No.
And just briefly going back to the clothing that you observed Mr. O'Keefe wearing in this and that you recall him wearing that night, what, if any, damage or tears or anything like that did you note in any of his clothing that night?
I did not see any.
Now, Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you to take this down and go to the third video. And Ms. Gilman, if I could direct your attention to the 6 minute and 10 second mark through the 7 minute mark. When you get to 6:10, I think that is marked. Now, Ms. Camerano, directing your attention to the screen, if you could, from the parties that were, within your group sort of that night at the bar, if you could just direct the jury's attention to who was who or who, if anyone, you recognize.
Kurt?
Robert.
So in addition to yourself and Mr. O'Keefe, Mr. Roberts has now joined your group.
Correct.
That's Carrie's
Ms.
husband.
Gilman, if you could just play us
Kind of looks like a guy's night out,
Yeah.
If you could pause it.
Pretty common for guys to do that
Here's
when
the
their
guy.
With
voice
reference
is
to Mr.
breaking up.
Roberts, was he a beer drinker as well?
See Karen
Yes.
walking
Uh-huh.
A bottle that night, same sort of thing that yourself and Mr. O'Keefe were having.
Correct.
And from where it's paused at this point in the video, who, if anyone else, do you recognize sort of coming into frame or coming to join your group?
Karen Reed?
And so from this, is this about the time that she entered the establishment or came into the bar?
Yes.
Now, with reference to Ms. Reed, what, if anything, do you recall her drinking during your time that you were both at CF McCarthy's that night?
She was drinking out of a glass.
And if you know, what if anything did you observe as far as the color of what was in the glass?
It was clear.
And beyond sort of the clear liquid in the glass, what, if anything else, did you observe in the glass as far as the straw, fruit, anything like that?
A straw, maybe.
And what, if anything, did you know what was in the glass?
I didn't.
And as far as you
Oh,
could tell, what was in
shit.
it?
Vodka?
Is that something that Ms. Reed would typically drink if you had been out with her on prior occasions?
Yes.
Now, I'm sorry to keep jumping back and forth between, but Ms. Gilman, if you could just hit play again and let it run, to the 7 minute.
Okay, dude, back to the screen. Thank you. Well, they look friendly.
Yeah.
They look really friendly. B. Tim, that was our thoughts yesterday. We talked about that.
Yeah, and they found a black straw, so it would suggest it was her glass.
Now,
Well, it was a glass he picked up off the table when
Ms.
he was
Gilman,
leaving.
from this same third video in this exhibit of the CF McCarthy's, if I could ask you to forward to the 14-minute mark, pause it.
Oh, there you go. I was going to say, is anybody going to get up?
It's like they're not even looking at each other.
And if you could, I would ask that you play this from the 14-minute mark until about 14 minutes and 15 seconds. Just about 15
The
seconds.
boys are definitely not acknowledging Karen.
Uh-uh.
There you go. And
There's,
Because he drank beer from he drank beer from a bottle.
yeah, but when they were leaving, when he was leaving, he picked up a glass off of
And
the
that
table.
and that was was that her glass or his?
I have no idea. He just picked up a glass.
Mr. Camerano, you indicated that your son was at Bruce Elementary School for a play of some sort. Is that correct?
He was for a little bit.
And from there, where, if anywhere else, did he go that?
He went to a friend's house to skate in his backyard.
skate as far as just skating, or what if anything else?
He was skating, that little potty.
Well, let me ask you this: was he a hockey player?
Yes, he's a hockey player.
Okay, so when you say skate, he's in the
Skating,
backyard.
yes. Makeshift hockey rink in somebody's backyard.
And at some point, with relation to that, what if anything sort of caused you to leave CF McCarthy's on that night?
I received a phone call that my son was hit in the face with a hockey stick and he lost his tooth.
And so, upon receiving that call, where did you go?
I went to go get him.
And do you recall about what time that was that you left CF McCarthy's to go get him?
I don't recall.
And was it Karen that did it?
Heels.
Now, from the group that you were with, as far as yourself, Mr. O'Keefe, Ms. Reed, and Mr. Roberts, who, if anyone, left first?
I believe Kurt.
And do you recall sort of how it was that Kurt left?
Kurt just got up and left.
So, sort of an Irish goodbye?
Yeah, Irish goodbye, yes.
That's something he's known for?
Yes.
Irish goodbyes.
What exactly is
about
Irish
when was that in
goodbye?
relation?
You just ghost and
You
don't
don't-
say goodbye. You
Not
just
too soon.
Yeah,
after.
you
Cut
don't
out.
say anything.
Oh.
You just leave without saying anything.
I
Oh,
left
okay.
after probably, I'd like to say 15 minutes after Kurt left.
Now, with the court's permission, Your Honor, I'd just like to publish just 2 more segments from this.
Okay.
So, Ms. Gilman, if I could direct your attention to the 4th video. 4th one down. And if I could ask you to forward it to about 19 minutes and 40 seconds.
Jesus, they have B. Tim's chair there in the courtroom.
Good play.
B. Tim, is your real identity Yannetti?
Is that why we never get to see you?
Doc's my
How
chair.
why we never see you and him in the same room at the same time?
Exact. I'm starting to think that. I think we need
No
to dig
comment.
Now, who is she talking to?
Now,
Like,
Ms. Cameron,
who's,
I'm
It's a
looking at the
conspiracy.
surveillance video here, or from your memory of that night. You see Mr. O'Keefe speaking to another gentleman. Is that correct?
Yes.
You know who that person is?
Yes.
And who is that?
Sully?
And do you know his first name or anything beyond just Sully?
Sully, I don't know his first name.
And how is it that you know him?
Kids play baseball with his son.
So in addition to your son playing baseball with Mr. O'Keefe's nephew, Mr. Roberts, does he have a son that's around the same age?
Correct.
And this individual, Sully, he has a child that plays baseball with the 3 of your kids.
Correct.
Is that someone that you had contacted to meet there, or he just happened to be?
He just happened to be there.
Ms. Gilman, if you could just play again and just went about the 20-minute mark. Now, Ms. Gilman, if you could move that forward again to 24 minutes and 10 seconds. And if you could just let this run until about 24 minutes and 20 seconds, so just about 10 seconds.
look how close she is to that guy talking to him.
Oh, wow. Are they fighting?
Who is that?
Are they fighting?
Oh, I don't
Watch
know. But
that.
And so, Mr.
Watch
Camarano,
Karen and John in the back.
portion of the video?
Yeah, what?
Yes.
what I'm
You know
watching.
what you were doing at that time?
Leaving.
And so
Okay,
prior
that
to
was
you,
him
you
leaving.
Sort of settled up a tab or something,
Yes, I picked up the tab.
and then you left and went to get your son, right?
Correct.
Ms. Gilman, you can take that down.
One more.
Now, Mr. Camerano, you left there and went to pick up your son. Is that correct?
Yes,
And following picking up your son, where did you go?
back to John's house.
And why did you go back to John's house at that time?
My daughter was there picking her up.
You went to pick up your daughter,
Correct.
and you recall approximately what time that was?
11.
And when you came back to the residence at One Meadows, did you park in the driveway again?
Correct.
And did you physically sort of go in the house to pick up your
No, I did. No, I did not.
Now, as far as from the time that from the time that you left with Mr. O'Keefe to go to see McCarthy's versus the time that you came back, anything changed as far as position of Mr. O'Keefe's car?
No.
What, if anything, did you note as far as the garage doors were concerned, or any damage or anything like that?
Everything looked normal.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would seek to just publish another video or two from Exhibit 6.
Okay.
And at this time, Ms. Gilman, if I could have from the driveway again, video 152.
They must have instructions not to show it because that's why the cameraman obviously hasn't moved. The judge will usually give instructions on what can be shown and what can't be shown. So I'm assuming some of these can't be. Although it's frustrating because I want to see it.
Now, from that video 152 that was just up on screen, sir, can you describe for the jury, excuse me, just as sort of what was going on in that video?
I was picking up my daughter, Madeline, and my son, Michael, was with me. Yes, all three of us.
And where did you go from there?
Home.
And when you got home, well, let me ask you this first. During the time that you were at C.F. McCarthy's, you obviously, at some point, you didn't do an Irish goodbye?
No.
So at some point, you indicated to Mr. O'Keefe and or Ms. Reed that you were leaving to go pick up your son?
Yes.
And what, if any, indication did they give to you as far as where they were going, or what were their intentions for the rest of the evening?
They were heading either across the street or to the hillside.
And when you say across the street, what, if anything, was across the street?
There's another bar room.
Is that the waterfall?
Waterfall, yes.
You familiar with that establishment as well?
Yes.
And where is that in relation to CF McCarthy?
Across the street to the left, if you were coming out of C.F. McCarthy's.
Walking distance, is that correct?
Correct.
And you leave, you get your son, you pick up the daughter at Mr. O'Keefe's house, and then you go home, correct?
Correct.
And when you get home, about how much longer were you up before you went to bed?
Wasn't up much longer.
And when you typically go to bed, what, if anything, did you do with your phone?
Put him on the charger.
Where's the charger located in reference?
In the kitchen.
And when, following to the next day, about what time is it that you wake up on the 29th?
5:36 a.m.
And what was it that woke you up, if you know?
Phones ringing.
And how many phones do you have?
2.
And essentially one personal, one work, is that correct?
Correct.
Were both phones ringing or one of the other?
One phone at that time.
Was that your work or your personal?
My personal phone.
And get up, you hear that, you look at your phone, what, if anything, do you see on the screen?
I see a lot of missed calls, a bunch of missed calls from Karen and missed calls from my wife's work.
And when you say missed calls, are we talking about one call, several calls,
Several calls.
any voicemails that you recall associated with those calls?
I don't recall.
When was this?
And, so based on sort of making that observation of the missed calls, what do you do with that?
I pick up the phone and call my wife.
When he woke up.
And what, if anything, did you learn from your wife with that?
My wife said to me that John.
Okay, sustained.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Here's
Okay.
Yeah, Kathy's back. So this was the morning of him being killed.
Yeah. He had missed calls from Karen and his wife's work when he woke up.
Karen was calling him.
That's what he said.
It's weird.
I know. I don't know. This poor guy though, like
I
you go
know.
to sleep and your friend is alive and you wake up and he's not.
Here's all these,
And you were
here's all
just
these
with
missed
him.
calls from his girlfriend that he's missing and gone, and something bad happened.
Jeez, Kathy, why you keep leaving us and
You're back.
stuff?
Jeez, Kathy, get it together already. Come on.
So, Mr. Camerano, you call your wife, and what, if anything, is it in general?
I don't know. She's just not personable.
me
I don't know.
John didn't come home last night.
Mm.
And she's still at work at this point, is that correct?
Correct.
Did she indicate to you how she came to find that?
She just she said she's received phone calls from
From whom?
Karen.
From Karen. And then based on that, you have a conversation with your wife about John's niece and nephew, is that right?
Yes, my wife says to me, go get Kaylee. Kaylee is home.
So at that time, your wife tells you that Kaylee is home in Meadows Ave by herself.
Yes,
And so based on that information, what is it that you do?
I realize that Kaylee's home alone, so I throw some clothes on, go out to the car, clean the car off real quick, and get in the car and go.
When you say clean the car off real quick, what, if anything, did you have to clean off?
I cleaned the snow off the front windshield.
And again, you sort of drive over to John's house to get Kaylee.
Correct.
And when you get there, you pull in the driveway as well.
Yes.
And when you get to John's house and you pull in the driveway, what, if anything, did you observe about sort of the condition of the garage doors at that point?
When I pulled in, I could tell the garage door was open, left open.
Which one? The one to the right or the one
To the one to the right.
And you go inside that door?
I do.
And what, if anything, did you do once you went inside?
Once I went inside, I saw Kaylee. I asked Kaylee get whatever she needed and to come and get in the car. While she was doing that, I started clearing some snow. I thought maybe snow hit the sensors, so that the door couldn't go down.
And so you start clearing the snow with a shovel?
With the shovel that was in the garage, yes.
And after you had cleared some of the snow with the shovel, what did you do with regard to the doors at that point?
So I tried to put them down. They wouldn't go down. Then I asked Kaylee, I think, to re-enter the code to see if she could get the doors to go down, but the doors would not go down. The door.
And at some point, how did you get the?
So there's a red rope. I manually pulled that, shut the door, locked the doors. There's 2 side locks on the garage door, and I went out through the side garage door.
Now, when you arrived at the residence and you pulled into the driveway, do you recall how many vehicles were in the driveway when you got there?
Yes.
And how many?
2.
And whose vehicles were they?
John's and Karen's.
And John's vehicle, where was that in relation to the last time that you saw it when you picked up your daughter?
Same spot.
And as far as the defendant, Ms. Reed's vehicle, where was that in relation to the garage or in relation to the drive?
It was pulled in on the left side, all the way in.
So in the area of the garage door that you were just speaking
Correct.
about?
hmm
And at that time, did you look at the vehicle or touch the vehicle in any way?
No.
Fair to say that your focus was sort of on the garage door and the fact that it was open, correct?
Correct.
And why was that? Maybe self-evident, but why was your focus on
Because I figured John would go crazy when he came home and all the snow was in his garage.
Now, at any point in time when you initially got the call from your wife, did you yourself reach out to John at any point?
I did not.
You know, if I may, I would just seek to publish just a few more videos from Exhibit 6, the driveway ring.
Okay.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have from those first starting with video 155, and essentially it's going to go 155 through 158. You could pause it. And Mr. Camerata, you recognize what's up on the screen again?
Yes, my car.
And is this sort of when you're pulling in to get killed?
Correct.
Using the laser pointer before you, again, if you could just direct the jury's attention to where you observed Ms. Reed's vehicle. And is that essentially from what you observed there, that's where it was the entirety of the time that you were there?
Yes.
So nobody else came to the home during the time that you were there to pick up Kaylee and shoveling out the snow from the garage?
No.
Ms. Gilman, if you could just run it. Gilman, if you could play the next video, 156.
No, he doesn't know John was found yet at this time. Like he's moving it away so that he thinks the sensor is what's not letting it close the garage door. So he's moving the snow away from what he would think would allow the sensor to allow the doors to close.
Right.
I wonder if he noticed the tail light.
Yeah, I don't. That's probably why he didn't, because he was focused on the door. I think that's what they're trying to establish is he didn't even look at the taillight because he was more focused on the door not closing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you could tell he wasn't looking around, so.
Right. He was more focused on trying to get that garage door down for John.
Well, and he said that he actually closed it manually because he pulls the little red string and then he locks it. So then that door can't be opened from the outside. The only way you can do that once you manually close the
From the
garage door.
inside.
Right. You have to go
Right.
inside and then undo everything you've done. It can't be opened from the outside when it's manually shut and locked
Right.
like that.
Right. You would have to go inside and unlock it
Last
and
risk of any-
everything. Yeah, because that's what I have to do. But if all that was done for her to put her car in the garage, why didn't she enclose it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Good question.
Because in the meantime, she ran into her boyfriend and then she had to figure out how to cover her ass.
Well, I think
Hmm.
that's another reason why they're pointing out the garage is that Karen left it open, but whose car was in the garage that she needed to open it like that?
Hmm.
Hers or John's?
No, it's
Definitely
established.
not John's. Look at that snow.
Yeah,
Right.
it's established that John's car was out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to say she had been parked in the garage there.
Well, her car is there because they came back. I don't know.
Right.
I'm assuming when Jen and Jerry came back with her, they
Yeah.
said you can't drive
Right.
because you're crazy acting.
Yeah. Yeah. So they left her car there and she got in with them.
Well, and let's not forget, then she ended up having self-harm.
Yeah.
Right.
She made self-harm threats that resulted in her
The
father.
last 4 videos.
Right, we know
for the
that
jury, is
from
essentially the process that you were
Yesterday, I think.
describing as far as yourself and Kaylee trying to get the garage door down.
Good morning, nurse.
Correct.
And so you
Yeah.
leave from there and go back to your house. Is that correct?
Yes.
And where sort of you and Kaylee go once you get inside?
We go into the house. We're in the kitchen in my house, and my daughter. We get my daughter up.
And your daughter then sort of hangs out with Kaylee for a period of time.
Correct. They go downstairs and they were hanging out.
And at some point in time, how does Kaylee leave your house, or where does she go?
I take Kaylee home.
And why is it that you take Kaylee home? About what time is it, if you know?
I don't know what time. Paul had called me.
And by Paul, who do you mean? by
Paul O'Keefe, John's brother.
And he informed you that John passed.
Yes.
So you took Kaylee to the house on Meadows Ave to be with the family. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're going to
Mr.
have to
Jackson?
be very careful.
Mr. Camerado, just a few questions. You and your wife did spend a lot of time with John O'Keefe and Karen Reed as a couple, correct?
Decent amount, yes.
Would you have considered John one of your best friends?
A good friend.
In fact, you were close enough that your children spent a lot of time with John O'Keefe and Karen Reed as a couple and their kids, correct?
Correct.
In fact, is it true that sometimes they would even vacation together with Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed?
Correct.
There was a trusting relationship that you had with both Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed to put your kids in their care.
Correct.
You mentioned just wonderful news about your kids, your daughter getting into this great school. I think it was called Bishop.
Bishop Fan, yes.
Before the acceptance, there was actually a sort of a process, like an open house that you needed to take the kids to, correct?
Yes.
You took your daughter, right?
I don't recall.
You remember being at an open house and a tour of Bishop with Karen Reed and John O'Keefe and John's niece?
I do recall being in an auditorium. I do.
Yeah, big auditorium, big tour of the school.
Yes.
Hopes of all the kids getting in.
Yes.
Okay. To make sure it's the right fit for the kids.
Correct.
And Karen was there, sort of as a
She was.
matriarch for John's niece.
Yes.
Patriarch, come on,
Um,
dude. Or matriarch, come
Your
on,
daughter
stop
spent
it.
a lot of time just with Karen, Miss Reed,
Correct.
running errands, going to Miss Reed's house, having Miss Reed care for her,
Correct.
and you had no issues with that
No.
because you liked Karen. You liked
Correct.
Miss Reed.
Correct.
It was probably, did you say once a week that you would hang out with and socialize with Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
So you got to know them not just individually, but as a couple together, correct?
Yes.
You saw them on most Friday nights, right?
Correct.
You never saw them argue or fight.
Argue.
Matter of fact, one time you were asked about this in front of a grand jury, and you said, I wouldn't even call it bickering. They would just banter together.
I guess so. Yes.
You never heard Mr. O'Keefe complain about Miss Reed or vice versa?
No, I did hear him complain about like when when Karen would buy like very nice things for the kids, like he wouldn't like that, stuff like that, or take the kids to get their nails done or something like that.
So maybe spoiling the children.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yes.
Certainly nothing to suggest that there was any abuse or anything like that. It was just a matter of fact.
Correct. Correct.
Mr. O'Keefe had an idea about how to raise children that was maybe a little bit more modest than Miss Reed did.
Correct.
So you described earlier at another hearing, you described the situation in which Miss Reed got a very expensive sweater for Mr. O'Keefe's niece.
Correct.
And Mr. O'Keefe's response was, boy, I wish she hadn't done that. That's spoiling that little girl.
Yes.
All right. You would agree there are worse things in the world than spoiling a child.
Correct.
Objection.
I'll let it stand.
You never heard Mr. O'Keefe even hint at the idea of breaking up with Miss Reed.
Not that I can recall.
I want to turn your attention to January 28th, if I could.
Well, Karen, that shoots your
You saw
theory out the door.
video and you explained what was happening in the video, where some cars were being jostled around. That was Mr. O'Keefe actually moving his car to facilitate Miss Reed bringing her car over to his house to put it in the garage, correct?
Yes.
Kind of a chivalrous thing to do for your loved one.
Yes.
Didn't want her to be out in the snow if it was going to be a heavy snow. Is that right?
Correct.
And the idea was that even that weekend, he intended that Miss Reed would likely be with him and the family for the entirety of the weekend during that blizzard.
Correct.
So she'd have a nice warm place and a dry place to put her car.
Yes.
You saw a video that Mr. Lally played for you of the moment. There are several videos, but I want to direct your attention or your memory to the video of when Miss Reed actually made her way into McCarthy's.
Yes.
You have that scene in your mind?
Yes.
You saw in the video when Miss Reed actually walked into the location, how Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe greeted each other,
Objection.
I'll allow it.
correct?
Yes.
It appeared that that was quite an affectionate greeting. Would you agree?
Objection.
Do you agree with that?
They kissed. Yeah.
Would you consider a kiss affectionate?
Yes.
They hugged each other, correct?
I don't recall.
Mr. O'Keefe put his right arm out and Miss Reed sort of nestled into his embrace,
Okay.
and that's when he kissed her?
Yes.
Okay. They seemed happy to see each other. is what I'm
Yes.
saying.
Nestled into his embrace. Oh my God.
You didn't observe while
Using
you were
those
sitting
big
with
words
them,
on
you
purpose.
didn't observe any
Mhm.
arguing or bickering between the two of them?
No.
Matter of fact, they were sort of the normal, affectionate, laughing, happy couple that you were used to seeing, correct?
Yes.
There didn't seem to be any tension between them at CF McCarthy's, is that right?
Not that I recall.
All right. I want to just ask a couple of more questions.
But he wasn't
During
there
the
after the fact.
span of
Right.
time that you knew them to be together, would you describe their relationship as being normal and caring?
Objection.
I'll sustain that.
I want to just draw your attention to the month before Mr. O'Keefe's passing. Would you describe their relationship to be normal as far as you knew it to be?
Yes.
And on the day before Mr. O'Keefe's passing, would you describe their interactions to be normal and caring and affectionate?
Yes.
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Anything, Mr. Lally?
No redirect, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Camerano, thank you very much. You're all set, sir.
Mhm.
All right, jurors, why don't we take our morning recess? We'll take 15, 20 minutes.
Jurors, if you'd fold and close your notebooks, placing them on your chairs, taking your belongings. All rise, jury out.
What Jackson's trying to do here is establish that they were just a normal, loving, everyday couple. And why would Karen hit John and run him over and kill him if they were so loving? They weren't even arguing. That didn't happen. It was just such a loving relation. That's what Jackson's trying to paint here for the jury. But the problem I have with the way he's painting it is, and if I'm a juror, I'm noticing these things, right? Like, I don't know about you guys, you can give me your opinion, but if I hear him using words like he's just using like nuzzled into embrace, I know you're trying too hard, right? Like you're trying too hard to establish, like you could have just said like they hug, they kiss, like normal,
Right.
correct? Like you're trying too hard with these nuzzling into his embrace. Like I get that, like, you know, defense attorneys, like, you know, that's their jam is to sort of like, but you also need to be authentic, and it's just not coming off as authentic to me.
It comes off like
Yeah.
a writer, like a bad romance novel.
Right.
And not everybody will display their issues in public in front of an audience. And alcohol being it, I mean, they were drinking heavy. That can turn sour in a minute. And nobody was there with them in the car. So who knows what,
Also, if I'm Lally, I want to redirect and ask him if John was a private person. Did John
Right.
normally bring his problems into public, or is that something that they would deal with behind closed doors? Because that would have redirected the jury to say John was a private person. He wouldn't have argued with her in public anyway. He would have waited until they were alone.
He's a law enforcement official.
He should have redirected. He should have asked him that.
He's a law enforcement official. He's not going to go act a fool out in public. That could
Right.
cost him his pension. He's going to
Right.
have it behind closed doors.
I
Do you
mean,
know
I-
how many cops will not? I mean, I live in a small town, smaller than what this community is, like 1,200. You know, you're related to half the law enforcement officers, and no, you don't act a fool out in public because it
I mean,
brings.
I wouldn't fight with my husband in public. I mean, that would
No.
wait till we got home.
Right. We
Oh
would
my
just
God,
get in
think
the car,
about your
go home.
parents. Think about your parents. Did your mom ever pick a fight with your dad in public? Did your dad ever pick a fight with your mom in public? Hail to the no. That stuff happened. That stuff happened at home behind closed doors, Joe.
Mhm.
Well, that's why I think
my
Lally missed a
God,
very
I'm
good
yelling.
opportunity here. He missed an
He did.
opportunity to establish that John wouldn't have argued with her in public.
Exactly. He
I
really
almost
did.
Muted
muted
heels.
all of you. I almost just muted everybody.
Oh my God, we all would have been like, what the hell?
No, I was on mute and I'm just like starting to yell. Runs with scissors, and that was crazy. They did have a fight in Aruba, but
Yeah.
it was in the room. It wasn't in
Right.
front of people.
No.
See, I don't think, because again, the person I knew that was leading a life with me and then a life behind my back where talking, it was crazy. But
Right.
everybody that knew us as a couple thought that person was super nice. And because they had been saying shit behind my back, thought I was terrible.
Oh,
and
so
wasn't
they made you the bad guy. They made you the bad guy,
Always.
and they played the victim.
yeah. And
Oh, I just love those kind of partners. Oh my God.
Narcissistic, really
I
is
want
what it
4 or
is.
5 more of those. I mean, that gave me the right
Sign
hair.
me up.
Yep,
Sign me up.
it was
Send 'em
crazy
my
to
way.
find out all the shit that had been said. I mean, it was crazy. And she reminds me so much of that person and she could be, I could have her all wrong. She could be like giving the gifts when he says, please don't, but she does it anyway.
Right.
Oh, hey,
It's
Trying
like-
to win over the kids by buying
I
them.
think, bingo.
Yeah,
I think
because
it's more
gifts are a
about
big thing to kids.
winning, winning over the kids, therefore like making them happy around John so that he's happy. Like I think that's the whole thing to that. But again, like you said, she reminds me of my narcissistic ex-husband. Like, and thank God for the last 10 years I've had a normal partner and I have not had to deal with that kind of craziness. But everything is them the victim. They're the victim. They are the victim, and
everything.
Everything is your fault. They're always the victim. They're never wrong. Even when they are wrong, they then turn to be mad at you because
That's
you're
like
mad at them.
you made them act like that.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
right.
of what you did, you made them
Your
act
fault.
like that. Therefore, you deserved what they did to you,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so go back to so that bar footage that we just saw, you guys, the bar footage when Camaro, whatever the guy's name was talking. Did you guys look
Camerano?
Camerano, thank you. I was calling him Cinnamon. That's really bad.
Cinnamon.
Yeah. Okay, so if you look over towards the bar exit, right, in that video that they just played, it almost looks like John and Karen are fighting. It looks like they're having big words as they're headed out the door of that bar. And then the next one they go to is the waterfall, right?
Well, I forget which one it is, but there is a clip. I forget which bar they're in, but there is a clip of them. And Karen says something to John. John says something to Karen, and Karen makes a face like this. Like, what do you mean? So like there is some sort of like, and then you can see her talk back and she's like you can tell that there's something being said that
There's
is
tension.
Okay, so
not
watch this.
happy,
This is,
right?
This is fucking wild. They're watch over by that exit door.
Over here.
Right in that area, right where your pointer was, Heels. Exactly. So that's where I was
So
staring
right
at.
now,
Watching.
she's right here. She's
Yep.
right there. Roberts is there, and I forget Scully or Sully or something.
Sully.
John is talking to.
Oh shit! I just put my sweater on wrong
I
side
don't know
out.
why it's not going.
I dressed
Wait, isn't
myself.
that Camerano right next to John? Isn't Sully's the
Yes,
one in the white
This
hat?
is Camerano.
Right.
He's
That's
paying-
Camerano, and he's getting ready to pay his tab.
Yeah.
And then while he's paying the tab, Karen
Okay.
moves and she starts over towards the door. And then John comes over there, and watch what happens.
I don't know why it's not going.
I think they've got it paused. Oh shit! I'm sorry, Heels. I'm dumbass. You're playing it. So. Shit.
Well, yeah, it's not.
I know it sat paused up on that screen for a minute.
Yeah, it's not doing anything.
It's not moving.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
So Karen's over by that door now, it looks like.
Karen's right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. There she is. Okay. I couldn't
And
see her.
she's talking to Kurt Roberts.
Okay.
He's getting the rest of his beer for you. God, that's a tiny place.
I know.
Yeah,
That's what I
skinny
was thinking.
bar.
The courtroom is fucking tiny.
It'd be hard to get drunk and fall down in there.
Could you imagine on a Friday night when it's packed?
It'd be like a sausage, it'd be like a pack of sausages.
Yep.
Elbow to elbow.
Mm.
And see, okay, so what I just noticed is watch this woman down here in the right corner. When whatever happens over there by where they're at and the thing happens, that woman immediately looks towards the door. That's what caused me to be like, what the hell is she looking at? So there's a woman right down there by the pointer. At one point, there's a woman with kind of like shoulder length curly hair. And all of a sudden, you see her head just dart that way towards the door. That's what triggered my eye to say, what is going on over by that door?
Okay, Karen's here.
There they are. There they are. They're
Hold on.
arguing.
I
Look
know,
at that.
no. Well, listen, Karen is right here,
John's here, way over here though.
but Karen is talking. She just said something to
Right, because she's very animated.
Camarado while he's leaving. So she said something to him, and then she turns back. Okay. I don't think he said anything.
And so, Mr. Camarano, did you see yourself in that portion of the video?
Yes,
I
Do
barely.
you know what you were doing at that time?
leaving.
And so prior to leaving, had you sort of settled up a tab or something?
Yes, I picked up the tab.
And then you left and went to get your son, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Gilman, you can take that down.
So
There's the woman in the sweater, and then watch her head. All of a sudden, it just darts. See, there it goes.
Oh, I see her. She's like craning her neck.
You're
Yeah.
looking at this surveillance video here. or from
Good
your-
catch, voices. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, but Karen's talking to
Gentlemen,
him.
Is that correct?
Yes,
she's not even turned towards John.
Okay.
yes.
Well, I mean, she is. John's right there, but
Sully?
she's talking to him.
Something made her crane her neck like that.
Name or anything beyond.
Maybe
the
she's
cell
waiting
phone.
on somebody.
Sully, I don't,
Anyway. I've got to turn it back.
Mute
I just
myself for a
wish that
second
the
so I can-
prosecutor would have asked, would have redirected and asked more questions about it. Well, is this something that would have,
No, he drives me nuts.
yeah,
Yeah, that's Lally for you.
he's missing some valuable key points, I think, that would really clarify things for the jury.
Well, and remember, they are getting a documentary also. So I think a lot of it is for the camera. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, worrying about them cameras for the documentary could cost you this case, then it's not gonna,
I don't think he cared. I mean, he did the best he could, I guess. Karen was running it for the last year and a half. Like, what I don't get is why Yannetti did nothing for months from February to June. Nothing. I think there was one thing filed, and that was it. Then suddenly Jackson comes on and 32 page, was it 32 pages?
yeah, it was something like that, yeah.
I'm like thinking.
Yeah, nothing, you're right, he didn't, he didn't do hardly, and he didn't, and then Jackson comes in and things take a whole different turn as far as,
I'm trying to find the thing.
To be honest, I think Yannetti's approach would have been without Jackson. It was an accident. And I think if Karen would have just copped to like it being an accident, her not even knowing that she hit him, like I don't think she would have ever been convicted of anything. So I think she's taking a very big risk here by not going with the it's an accident theory.
yeah, I mean, the most that would have happened in the beginning, if she would have just owned up to it and it was an accident, she didn't see him, it was snow, there was a blizzard, weather conditions, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
The most she would have got is a DUI. Okay, that's a lot better than going to jail for years and
Well,
years.
I don't think, I mean, she might have still got some time, but it would have been short time, like 6 months, 9 months with
Yeah.
supervised probation or suspended time with like an ankle monitor. Like she could have
Right.
made a pretty cushy deal for herself, having
Yeah.
no criminal record and it being an accident, but she just couldn't do that.
See, I wouldn't have taken the risk. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm a wiener, but I wouldn't have taken the risk. I'd have just
Me
said,
either.
hell yeah, I'll take it. I'd rather do a 6 month suspended with an ankle
And
bracelet.
risking 20 years, 25 years. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have taken that risk either. I'm with you on
No.
that.
I still go back to that original statement that was made by her attorney that this is just an unfortunate accident.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people go back to that statement.
Right.
Oh, that's where I'm all stuck at. Like, I get that stuff happened before all this other stuff, but I'm still stuck there. I mean, how can one attorney the first attorney on the case say it was an accident. Her father comes out and says, well, it was just a horrible accident. It was just an unfortunate accident. And then now, no, I didn't do anything like that. I was home. I was passed
Right.
out.
So it's like you changed your story multiple times and then you went on Nightline and other places. Like you changed it. It evolved numerous times. So that's a problem. And some of it doesn't make sense and doesn't jive with what we know as facts. So that's a problem, right? Liza, she did pay. Yannetti was paid up front when she first obtained him, which was only like a day, I think, or 2 days.
You're roboting a little
after
bit.
John. He, you know, I think he was just doing a better thing.
Look at this. It amazes me, all these calls. So this is Jennifer. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The times. She calls them at 12:29, 12:31. Well, they aren't all calls. Some are
text.
12:40, 12:41, 12:41:59, 12:42, 12:43, 12:45, 12:46, 12:47.
That's a lot.
12:50, or then at 2:25.
And remember, in the beginning of all this, me, you, and Voices were on panel going over this timeline, and we had a lot of questions about Jennifer and all these calls.
Yeah.
What's
Originally
weird,
we did.
What's weird is at 2:25 was her last call to him. I think for some reason she knows something.
I agree.
She knows more than she's saying.
I agree.
Well, or might say, oh, she would have had to have said at the grand jury, but it's just weird that 2 minutes later.
She stops calling him at 2:25. What did she do? Pass out?
Yeah, but at 2:27 is when that text was made, or the search was made on
And then
how long to Diane know. Oh, that's
Well,
not to John. That's to unknown.
That's to an unknown number at 2:25. The last one to John was 12:50, and I'm assuming that was her being like, "Hey, where'd you go?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, I saw you guys pull up. Like, where'd you
What was
go?
she doing at 2:25?
But where's the text messages and the calls from Karen?
They're texts. She didn't call Jen McCabe. She called Kerry Roberts.
Oh, fuck.
She called Carrie. Didn't Carrie go pick her up?
Yeah, yep. And Kerry, I think, called Jen.
Carrie and Jen mixed up.
Now what are you doing?
Or Jen. Jen was called from Kaylee's phone, so the niece's phone, not Jen, not Karen's phone.
Okay.
I don't even know what happened. Okay, so can we just go back up? Thanks.
Sure.
No, I'm not. I'm talking to this goddamn thing.
Oh.
Okay, so
I love you guys.
what is it? I have no idea what's going on.
Well, okay. But are we keeping an eye on her? Are we still watching the fan?
Huh?
Are we still watching the fan?
No, we're watching.
No, we're watching a timeline. The timeline.
Are you watching the fan?
No, that's what I'm asking. Is somebody keeping an eye on the fan for us?
Yeah, I have it on my other
Awesome.
tab.
Sorry.
They went to lunch, right?
No, they're just on a break.
No, it's their morning break. It's just 9 o'clock here, so it's got to be their morning break.
Well, I'll hear it when it comes back. Okay, so I just want to look at this. So 2:56, 2:25, unknown. This goddamn thing. Then at 4:59, she's calling John again. 5:04, she calls John. Then she calls Karen at 5:05, 5:05. Calls John again at 5:08, again at 5:09. Good God. And these are calls. 5:14, 5:16, 5:19, 5:25. I'm sorry it's doing this. I have no control.
It's because you need to click in the document and then it'll stop changing the font size. You're still on the making it bigger or smaller. Once you click into the document somewhere on something, it should change that and allow you to.
Okay, there we go. So she's calling him. 5:26.
Yeah.
5:32, 5:33.
But is she going to say, well, that's because we were trying to get him to answer for me because, you
Well,
know, they
that's
are
before they found
BFFs?
him. Yeah, it's before they found him. So that's
Yeah.
them calling him to see where the
Trying
hell
to
he
find
is
him.
and why
Yeah.
he's not answering. Right.
And thinking that he would, if it was him and Karen having a dispute, that he would most likely answer for his BFF,
Someone
Jen.
else. Yeah,
Yeah.
he would answer for someone else
What
besides
time did they
Karen.
get in the car to go look? Because at 5:26, she calls Karen. Then
I want to say it was like
Tom Beatty at 5:30.
Tom Beatty, yeah.
That's the neighbor across the street, right?
His daughter goes to school with the other kids.
Yeah, I think he's across the street.
Tom Beatty? No.
Yeah,
I don't know
think so.
about. No, I don't know about across
Yeah.
the street. He lives, you know, in
Because
Canton.
they
but
were
not- I don't
asking him for his Ring camera.
No, that was Kelleher. That was Kelleher, which is a cop who lives across the street.
Right. That gentleman is, their kids are friends.
Okay, so again, at 5:25, she calls John. Then she calls Tom Beatty again. Did he ever answer the first time?
he didn't answer the first time. He answered the second time. It was 2 seconds. So probably his voicemail.
Yeah.
Yeah, she probably hung up when she got the voicemail, I'm guessing.
Then at 6, now here's my thing. Karen, at this time, Jennifer knows where she saw Karen last. So why isn't she calling Nicole first? Like the minute she hears, why didn't she call Nicole?
Why would she call Nicole first?
Because that was the last place she saw. Or that
She saw them
Karen-
outside. She saw them outside, but why would you call Nicole for that?
Because Karen is saying that's where she left him.
Well, no, that's not what Karen's saying. Karen's
I
saying
know,
she
at
doesn't
first she
remember
said, "I don't
leaving the
remember."
waterfall. So she
Right.
doesn't even remember leaving the bar at that point.
But that doesn't matter because Jen did see her, whether she remembers it or not. The
Yes,
last place she
outside.
saw her was at the house.
I mean, I wouldn't have called Nicole first if that's what, like, I wouldn't have either, because if I was in the house with them. So if I'm looking out, I see the car
you knew
pull
she
up.
wasn't there, but maybe, they
Right.
left. I don't know. I just think at the very least, Karen would have called or said, can I get their number? But at this point, she's pretending she doesn't remember. So yeah.
Right.
And that, oh, you motherfucker.
Well, that's also why she called Jen McCabe from Kaylee's phone, because she didn't even have that number. So she had Kaylee call her.
She had her call John first, right? And then call
I'm not sure if she
I
called
think
John
she
first
had
or
her call
not.
John first, which I thought was weird. But
Well, if they got in an argument, again, maybe she thought he would answer
He
for
would
his
answer
niece,
her,
but not
yeah.
her.
yeah. Okay, well, I'm clicking in the goddamn Portland son of a.
They're giving you a hard time, Heels.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't know, honey. I don't know how to make it stop.
okay. Start from scratch. No, it's doing it, no matter what I do. I've done something. I've done
I
something.
think. Are you
Okay.
scrolling with your mouse up and down? Because that's
Yeah.
gonna make it smaller and bigger.
Right, but it wouldn't
Yeah.
do that before. Well, how do I get?
Click at the top, just an empty, like click at the top of an empty space. Don't click on anything specifically. Just click at an
Right.
empty space.
Right, I did that, and it's still making it.
Oh yeah,
And it's
Hmm.
not never done this before.
that's
I
weird.
want to see this over here. Okay. So
Try
that-
using the up and down keys instead of your put it at the size you want it with the roller on the mouse, and then use the up and down keys to go up and down on the keypad instead of on the mouse.
Okay, I did that. It's gone.
Well, it's up at the top probably, but
Yeah, way up at the top because
Yeah.
I'm steady hitting the up key. Okay, or maybe it's to the side. Yep. Okay. I've never had a problem with this ever.
weird.
Do you have
That's
this?
technology for you. I don't. Not
Okay, well,
not readily available right now.
and even my bottom bar is gone.
That's weird.
Yeah. What I'm going to do
Mine's
is go back.
Mine's in my
over.
other laptop, and I'm using my newer laptop. That
Yeah, I'm just going to
Mine.
get Susie's. Are
my
you sure
old one
that?
has it.
Are you sure they went to lunch? I mean, to just a break?
Yeah, it was a 15, 20-minute break. I have it up on the other side, so the fan is still steadily fanning.
Okay, his fan is doing its job. Wonderful.
Yep. That beautiful fan.
You can.
Thank you for keeping an eye on that.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's doing it with everything. Look.
Oh, that's
Okay,
fucking
Heels,
weird.
you hit a sticky key. Do you got any lights on your keyboard or anything like that?
Girl, the only time I open this is for this. You know
X
what?
out of everything else and then go into it, except StreamYard, obviously,
Well,
and see if that solves the issue.
Are you seeing my screen? Look at it.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that's weird. I don't.
I'm gonna unplug my
Can you
mouse
hit
and plug it back.
F5? Can you
That's
hit F5?
weird.
No, I'm gonna unplug my mouse and plug it back in.
Unshare your screen and then
Yeah,
I did.
then get out of every. No, you didn't. And
I
then
did.
go out
I
of everything.
unshared it when I got out of the.
No, honey, we're
Nope,
still
that's what
seeing
we
it.
can see right now. Yeah,
I
there you
know.
go.
Y'all let me talk. I unshared it when I was doing the spreadsheet. Then I shared Twitter, and it was still doing it.
Right, but you're still sharing your screen. Close out of it again.
It's closed out.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
closed. There's nothing on the screen right now.
I'm gonna close everything.
Yep. I'd close everything but
It's even
StreamYard
doing
and
it
then
on my StreamYard when I'm looking at.
look
So
at
if
your
I go
keyboard.
out- If I go out and I could come back in, right?
Yeah,
I
we'll
think
be here.
so.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll still be here. Because remember, like others fall off panel.
Make sure though that your like shift key or your numlock key isn't. Oh, she can't hear me now.
I bet you have your
Isn't lit up.
scroll lock. I bet her scroll
Yeah.
lock is on.
That's what I'm saying. Her scroll lock has to be on somehow, but it would be. Is it a PC? I'm guessing probably.
Hey guys, I'm heading over to the Walmart. If I lose you, I will be back. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But if I happen to drop down, it's because of the signal. But as soon as I'm done, I'll be right back on.
Alrighty, they're back. No, they're not. Not on my screen. They're not. Core TV still has the fan on. I still got the fan. So maybe on a different channel they're back, but not on this one. Not on Core TV. Still just the fan. Oh, now they're back.
Well, Heels will be
All right.
back in just a second.
Let me share. I'll share
We
my
don't-
screen until
Honey, even
she
so,
comes.
you can't because she has to approve it.
Yes, I can because I'm dual screaming with her. So yes, I can. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, come on. This way. X out of this. Back here. The screen. There we go. There we go. Okay.
Oh my God.
Did it work, Heels?
I guess. I just don't use this enough. Okay, so now I don't know how that happened. I have the.
It's
spreadsheet.
back on.
Yeah, it has the spreadsheet up, but it's really tiny. Okay, let me get back to Court TV. Stop it.
I love that I am not the only one that yells at my equipment.
I should probably use it more.
I test my app. I threaten to throw it in the swimming pool. I do all kinds of stuff.
Oh, me too. I'm gonna throw you off the porch is my favorite one.
What is this? Oh, it's back on?
Yeah, it's back on.
Okay, here we go.
She played soccer. She played hockey for a little bit, but mostly soccer and softball.
Who is this?
And And your 13-year-old son.
Catherine Camarano, the wife of the
Hockey.
last guy.
Hockey and baseball.
Now, do you work, man?
I do.
What do you do?
I'm a nurse.
And how long have you been working?
21 years.
And your husband, does he work?
He does.
And what does he do?
He's a laborer.
And how long has he been doing this?
Probably 25, maybe even 30 years, actually.
And how long have the two of you been together?
Married?
Now,
20 years? 20 years. 2004.
now, ma'am, if I could turn your attention to January 28th, 2022 into January 29th, 2022. Do you recall those couple days?
Yeah.
And do you recall what days of the week they were?
It was Friday into Saturday night.
And starting with the Friday of the 28th, were you working that side?
I was working that night.
And sort of typically what kind of shift you work as
I work 7P to 7A, nights, mostly weekends.
the weekends would be sort of typically when you'd be at work?
Yes.
And around this time of January 2022, when you were at work, do you know what sort of your husband and your children would be doing typically on like a Friday?
Friday night, they went to Johnny's house a lot, and the kids hung out, and they all just hung out together on a Friday night.
Now, starting with Johnny, who you refer to, you mean John O'Keefe, is that correct?
Yes.
How is it that you came to know John O'Keefe?
My husband got introduced to him, and then the girls started hanging out probably 2018, fourth grade. The boys around the same time when he moved to Meadows, probably around that time.
And so Mr. O'Keefe, he had a niece and a nephew of who he was a guardian, is that correct?
Correct.
And he had a niece named Kaylee and a nephew named Patrick, correct?
Correct.
And they lived with him, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, with regard to his niece Kaylee and your daughter, how did they know each other?
They first met on the soccer team, probably soccer. Yes, they met soccer fourth grade, or was it it could have been basketball. She played basketball when she was that little, Madeline. Basketball team, fourth or fifth grade. And then quickly by the fifth, sixth grade, they were like best friends attached at the hip.
And as far as Mr. O'Keefe's nephew Patrick, in relation to your son, were they the same age as well?
They played baseball together.
And outside of baseball, were they friendly as well?
Yes.
And so a typical Friday night would be you were at work and your husband and the kids would go over to Mr. O'Keefe's house.
Correct.
You knew where Mr. O'Keefe's house was?
Yes.
And where was that?
On Meadows Ave.
About how far away from your house was Mr. O'Keefe's house on one Meadows Ave?
Maybe 2 miles, maybe. I don't know.
So fairly short distance?
Yes.
Now, with regard to this specific Friday night, January 28th, you were at work and do you know what sort of the plan was with reference to the rest of your family?
Michael, my son was going to play with a friend of his, a school play in the town, and Michael was going to Johnny's with Madeline, my daughter, and they were gonna hang out there for the night, and Michael and Johnny were gonna potentially go out.
Now, with reference to your daughter and Mr. O'Keefe's niece, Kaylee,
Mhm.
what, if anything, around, specifically to that day, what, if anything, was sort of going on with them and their school?
They had just got into Bishop Fien High School that day.
And at this time in January 2022, what grade were they in?
They were in 8th. They were going into 9th that September.
And so they had been accepted to this private school, Bishop
Mhm.
Fien, and got their acceptance letters that day.
Yep.
And what, if any, conversation do you recall having with Mr. O'Keefe in reference to that on that day?
They were just really excited about it. Everyone was really excited that they just got in.
Now, at some point, well, beyond sort of, if you could just sort of describe the nature of your relationship, and by you, I'm using it plural, as far as you and your husband, with regard to Mr. O'Keefe.
He was our friend. He was really good to me and my kids.
And as far as the kids were concerned, what, if any, sort of interplay did you have with regard to his kids and he have with regard to
I worked weekends and he would take my kids to sporting. I would do a lot of the stuff during the week if I was around the practices. And him and my husband would always do the games. The kids used to call them my two dads. It was like they had a lot of fun together. It was like a well-oiled machine.
Now, through your friendship with Mr. O'Keefe, at some point did you come to know someone by the name of Karen Reed?
Yes,
And who was Karen Reed in relation to Mr. O'Keefe?
she was his girlfriend.
And just to be clear, when we're talking about Karen Reed, do you see Ms. Reed in the courtroom?
I
today?
do.
Could you just identify as to where she's seated or an article?
Yeah, she's right there.
No, just ask the record to reflect identification of the defendant. By the way.
Yes.
Now, with regard to the defendant, Ms. Reed, prior to this date of January 28th, 2022, about how long had you known her?
Whenever they started dating, probably 2 years. During COVID. When was COVID? Probably 2 years.
So
Right.
sometime during the COVID pandemic, you met her?
Yeah, yep.
And as far as you were aware, did she live with Mr. O'Keefe and the children, or did she have somewhere else?
No, she had a house in Mansfield, but she stayed at Meadows a lot.
And so during the course around this time of January 2022, general time, about how often would you see Mr. O'Keefe?
Probably 3 days a week, I would say.
And sort of typically when you would see him, would that be sort of at a game or at your house?
Anything, drop off, pick up, his house, games, anything.
Now, as far as Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed were concerned with regard to you and your husband, what, if any, socialization did you have sort of outside of the kids?
Yeah, we went out to eat. We went to a comedy show. I would socialize with them.
About how often would you do that?
The kids were around mostly, but maybe a few times. I feel like the kids were usually always around.
Now, at some point, did you become aware that your husband and Mr. O'Keefe had gone out that evening?
Yes.
And how did you become aware of that?
I don't know. Either Michael told me or my daughter told me. One of them told me. I forget who.
And do you know where your husband went that night?
I don't remember if he told me exactly where he went.
And at some point, you're still at work. You're working an overnight. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the rest of your family, being your husband and your kids, they came home at some point.
They did.
And how do you know sort of when or how they came home?
I have an alarm on my house, so I know when somebody opens the door. I can check at work, and it alerts me if the door's open, if the alarm is on, off, who puts it on, who puts it off, what doors are open, when the alarm is rearmed, and if I usually don't allow sleepovers, and even if I did, my husband would have called me at work.
So fair to say there's a rule within your house that sleepovers don't happen unless you approve.
Yeah.
Now, at some point, I'm going to turn your attention now to the morning of the 29th. At some point, while you were at work, did you receive a call from someone?
Yes.
And who, if anyone, called?
Karen.
And about what time was that?
Probably between 4 and 5.
And what, if anything, did the defendant say to you when she called you around 4 or 5 in the morning?
She was just screaming, "Where's Mike? Where's Mike?"
And was that a typical sort of situation that you would get a call from the defendant at that time?
No, not at all.
And the screaming that you heard, or the phraseology of "Where's Mike," is that something she said once or more than once or something else?
She just kept saying it. She just kept saying, "Where's Mike?"
And what, if anything, did you say in response to that?
I was just like, hold on, calm down. And as I was doing it, I was rechecking like the alarm. I said, he's home with the kids. Let me call him. And at some point I hung up. I called my husband, like, I don't know, probably it felt like 100 times.
Now, you're at work and when you get this call, is that right?
hmm
And do you recall sort of where you were, what you were doing when you got the call?
I was getting ready to draw like morning lab, so I knew it was between like 4 and 5 a.m. Somewhere
As far
early
as
morning.
this sort of screaming, as far as "Where's Mike," what, if anything, did the defendant indicate as to why she was asking?
John didn't come home.
And from your knowledge of John O'Keefe, was that something that was normal or no?
No.
Now, during this sort of initial call with the defendant, what, if anything, did you hear sort of in the background of that call?
That first call? I don't think I heard anything in that.
Your memory exhausted as to that?
Yeah, I don't remember it.
May I approach you with this?
Yes.
And ma'am, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a document before you.
hmm
I'm going to direct your attention to this second paragraph on the page. If you could just read that to yourself.
Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't know if that was the,
Anything further, may I approach
Yep.
this retreat now?
Yes.
oh, yeah, sorry.
And so, Ms. Camerano, after reading what I just placed before you, is your memory refreshed as to what, if anything, you heard in the background of that
Yeah.
initial call?
I could hear Kaylee in the background.
And you hang up on that call, and then what did you do?
Call Michael. And
At any point when you're calling Michael, I think you said you felt like it was about 100 times. Did your husband Michael answer the phone?
he
at
never
any point?
answered. No,
And so after you called your husband many times, he didn't answer. What did you do then?
I called either Karen's phone or Kaylee's phone back. I texted John, I think, twice. And then I could, whoever's phone I called, I could hear Jen in the background, that someone had called Jen too.
So you were speaking on the phone with either the defendant or Kaylee, correct?
Yep,
And you could hear someone named Jen in the background.
yep, I could hear her in the background.
And when you say you could hear someone,
Like it sounded, sorry,
no. So just as far as Jen, who is that?
Jen McCabe. She was one of Madeline's soccer basketball coaches, so I know her voice.
Heard her sort of voice on the sideline.
Yeah, yep.
Did you know her personally at all?
I knew her as Madeline's coach.
And at some point you were talking to Kaylee on the phone, correct?
Yes.
And what is it that you were saying to Kaylee at that time?
I was just saying to her, is everybody okay? And she said they're going to go out looking for him. I think she said they were going to go out looking, or she's going to go out no one knows where he is. And then I think I like hung up with her. And then at some point I maybe texted Kaylee or called, and I said, is Karen out alone? And she said, no, she's with Jen and Kerry. So I said, okay, as long as they're not alone.
Now, the second phone call, you're talking to Kaylee and you can hear the defendant talking to Ms. McCabe, is that correct?
Yes.
And you hear one side of the conversation or both sides of the conversation?
I don't really recall exactly. I felt like it was just like a lot of like screaming, like he's not home. I don't really recall 100%.
But as far as the screaming that you heard that he's not home, do you recall whose voice that was that you heard saying that?
It was Karen.
And beyond that, as far as the conversation that you overheard, what, if anything, specific about that conversation in addition to that do you recall?
I don't.
And while these phone calls are going on, again, you're at work, correct?
Correct.
So what is it that you're doing sort of in relation to your job while these phone calls are going back?
I'm trying to like in between draw labs for my patients, and then I'm like going in the back room, texting or calling, and then I'd go back out to the desk, out to the patients.
You mentioned that the defendant was sort of screaming when she was talking to you on the phone and you heard her in the background when you were talking to Kaylee.
Yep.
Could you describe sort of, or how would you describe sort of her, and by her I mean the defendant's demeanor while you heard her on the phone?
She was just like frantically screaming. Just screaming. Where's Mike?
Now, during this time, you're working, you're dealing with patients, and you're going back and forth with patients on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to speaking on the phone with the defendant and then with Kaylee, who, if anyone else, did you reach out to or did you talk to that morning?
I talked to Carrie Roberts in the morning at some point. I don't know if I called her, she called me, and she said that I think that he was going to the hospital. And then I called my husband and told him that Kaylee was home alone and that he should go get her because she was at the house alone.
Is it your understanding that your husband, Michael, then went to Meadows to pick up Kaylee?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes, ma'am?
Yes, sorry.
Now, you mentioned that at some point you spoke to Carrie Roberts, is that correct?
Yes.
How do you know Carrie Roberts?
I've known her since high school.
And as far as you grew up in the same town, is that correct?
No, I was friends with her cousin. So I had known her. And I've always known her. I've been friends with her for a while.
Just one moment, John.
Sure.
May I approach the witness, John?
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as Exhibit 48. And before I do that, I just need to show counsel what I'm showing you. May I approach him?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 48, specifically on page 22. With respect to that white box sort of towards the top of the page, you see a listing as sort of participants of that conversation,
Yes,
as a text conversation,
yes.
and who is sort of listed as the participant within that conversation?
Katie Camerano and JJ.
And is JJ another sort of name or nickname for John O'Keefe?
Yep,
And the content, there's two blue bubbles on the bottom of that page. Is that correct?
correct.
And do you recognize the content of those bubbles?
Yes.
And what do you recognize those to be?
My text messages to him.
Those are text messages you just testified about as far as sending to John that morning.
Correct.
And both of them are from you with no response from Mr. O'Keefe.
Correct.
And about what time are the two text messages sent to Mr. O'Keefe according to that document?
5:10.
May I approach this to retrieve him?
Yes.
Mhm.
Now, Ms. Camerano, you had mentioned in your testimony that you had some phone calls or conversations with Ms. Reed on the morning of January 29th, correct?
Correct.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
Is this all day testimony today?
Showing you another
Correct.
document.
Mhm.
It's a full day today.
Look at that and look up when you're finished.
Yep.
And that document, do those seem to reflect the calls that you have between yourself and the defendant, Ms. Reed, on that morning of the 29th?
Yeah.
Objection, Your Honor. May we approach briefly?
Sure. Could I please see that?
Sidebar.
There goes my brother-in-law.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm back.
And so, Ms. Camerano, from that document, does that seem to be the phone calls and the timing of the phone calls between yourself and Ms. Reed that morning?
Okay. Yes.
May I approach again, Your Honor?
Yes.
I'll open to introduce in a minute the next exhibit.
Any objection, Mr. Jackson?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
I'm showing that to you, which now been marked as Exhibit 51. Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would request to publish that to the jury on the screen.
Okay.
So Turtle Boy tried to get in today and he couldn't.
Thank you, Ms. Camerano.
Yeah, we knew that was going to happen.
Thank you, Madam Court Reporter.
So sad for him. Oh, well.
Please just see if you can mark that.
Right.
Mr. Mr. Lally, keep your voice up and step aside so all jurors could see this, please.
Yes. Just before we get to what's up on the screen, is that what you have before you as Exhibit 51?
Yes.
No, Ms. Camerano, starting from sort of as far as the order of these, do you see sort of to and from and sort of date times on there?
Yes.
And does it appear as if the earlier times are sort of towards the bottom and then it goes on in time and chronology towards the top?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll to sort of the bottom of the box. Now, with reference to essentially there are 6 boxes, am I correct in that?
Correct.
And with regard to box 6, if you could just tell the jury sort of.
It says 1/29/2022, 4:49 a.m. to Katie Camerano, answered 2 minutes and 51 seconds.
And the box above that, number 5.
From, it looks like I called her at 4:56 on 1/29 for 2 minutes and 57 seconds, answered.
And the box above that, number 4, please.
I called her 5 a.m., 2 minutes and 4 seconds, answered. And then I called her again at 5:32 for 8 seconds. That was answered. And then I called her again at 5:34, was missed. At 5:34 was missed. And then I called her again at 6:44 and 49 seconds, and that was not answered.
Thank you. May I approach just to retrieve, Your Honor?
Yes.
You can take that down.
Thank you.
Now, with respect, Cameron, is your testimony that in addition to the phone calls that you have with the defendant, you also had some text back and forth that morning as well?
Correct.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Ms. Cameron, I'm showing you a document, asking if you could just take a look at that and look up when you're finished.
Shepherd's pie's in the oven.
And do you recognize what that what's in that document?
Yes.
What do you recognize it to be?
It's my text to Karen.
And with respect to the sort of first page of that, is there also similar to the ones I showed you with regard to Mr. O'Keefe? Is there a listing as far as the participants in that conversation?
Yes.
And who does it state?
It's Karen Reed and Katie Camerano.
May I approach again?
Yes.
I'm about to seek to introduce in a minute the next exhibit.
No objection, Mr. Jackson?
No objection, Your
All
Honor.
right, then.
That mic makes me laugh every time. It makes me think it's a frog.
Turning what's now been marked as Exhibit 52 to you. And Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would publish this on the screen for the jury as well.
Okay.
I wish that she wouldn't ask if he has an objection. It's kind of his job to ask for an objection. If he doesn't call, it's that simple. She needs to stop reminding him of objections. Come on, dude.
Especially him.
Now, Ms. Camerano, if I could direct your attention to sort of the content of this. There's blue bubbles and green bubbles. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is there an indication on there as far as who the message is from and who the message is to?
The blue bubbles would be me texting Karen.
And if you could, starting with the first bubble on page 1, If you could just describe to the jury, and we'll sort of go through it as far as who the text is from and what the content is.
That's from me. I'm asking Karen, are you okay?
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down. And this next bubble.
Go back home so you're safe with Kaylee. He will end up home. I bet he's on someone's couch.
And the next bubble down, Ms. Gilman.
What's going on, Karen?
If you could scroll down a little further, Ms. Gilman.
I'm driving around with Carrie and Jen.
And this is the text that you received
From-
Ms. Reed to yourself.
Yes.
And is there a time on that associated with when that text was sent?
Um, I can't read that from there. 5:53, does it say?
5:53 a.m. Is that correct?
Oh, 5:53, yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to the next message.
Okay, is one of them driving?
And just to be clear, this is you texting. Ms. Reed.
I'm texting Karen, yes. Is one of them driving? And then,
And why were you texting that, or why were you concerned about that?
because she was so hysterical, I didn't want her driving.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to the next message. And what, if any, response did you receive from Ms. Reed?
Yes.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could, scroll down to the next.
And I said, okay, keep me posted.
Gilman, if you could scroll down.
At his brother's or mom's, ? Or the station he works at.
Both of those messages, about what time were those?
6 a.m.
And what, if any, Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down, and then what, if any, response did you receive from the defendant, Ms. Reed, following those texts?
I don't think so. His bro is in West Bridgewater, W. Bridgewater.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down again. The next message, ma'am.
Right, I'm sorry, I'm just brainstorming.
The next green bubble, ma'am.
It's okay.
And the blue bubble below that.
Any luck?
And that was a text you sent at approximately what time now?
6:34.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down to the next. And what was Ms.
Then-
Reed's response?
He's dead.
And again, at what time did you receive that text message from Ms.
6:34.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down again.
What, Karen? Are you serious?
That's a blue bubble, your response to her last statement.
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down again.
And then, Karen, do you have any idea where he is, or did you find him?
Lastly, Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down one more time.
He was in the snow.
And that last message that you received, what time was that?
That was at 6:36.
Ms. Gilman, you can take that down. And Mr. Officer, if you could collect that. Thank you. Following that text message, the last one about 6:34 a.m., what, if any, other communication did you have with the defendant that morning?
Nothing.
What, if any, other communication did you have with the defendant since then?
None.
Now, as far as any of the other people that you spoke of, as far as talking to that morning, Ms. Roberts or Kelly, did you have any further conversation with them in regard to what was going on?
No.
If I may have just one moment, Your Honor. Nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, cross-examination?
Hello, Mrs. Camarado.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. To Mr. Lally last point, after that series of text messages that you had early in the morning on January 29th, 2022, you said you didn't hear from Miss Reed or didn't have any communication with her after that. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Did you reach out to her text message wise?
No.
Okay. Were you aware that her phone had been seized shortly thereafter from her?
No.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, Ms. Camerano. Oh, there's nothing else, Mr. Lally, right?
No.
All right, Ms. Camerano, you're all set. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Your next witness, Mr. Lally?
Yes, Your Honor. The Commonwealth will call Mr. Kurt Roberts to the stand.
Do solemnly swear the evidence you give the court and jury in the case now and hearing should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. Just nice and loud into that microphone, thanks. Great.
All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Kurt Roberts, Roberts.
And where do you live, sir?
Canton, Mass.
And how long have you lived in Canton?
About 12 years now.
And who, if anyone, do you live in Canton with?
I live with my wife and 2 children.
And your wife, what is your wife's name?
Kerry.
And how long have the two of you been married?
We've been married 15 years.
And you mentioned you have 2 children, is that correct?
Yes.
And how old are your kids?
My daughter is 14 and my son is 12.
And do you work, sir?
I do.
And what do you do?
I'm a heavy equipment operator.
About how long have you been doing it?
26 years.
And your wife, Carrie, does she work as well?
She does.
And what does she do?
She's a executive assistant.
And do you know about how long she's been doing
I think about 18 years.
it? And if I could turn your attention to the evening of January 28th, 2022. Do you recall that day?
I do.
And do you recall anything about what you were doing? Do you recall what day of the week it was?
I know it was a Friday night.
And earlier in the day, do you recall anything specific about what you were doing that day?
Gee, no, I don't. Nothing stands out.
And at some point in time in the evening, where were you initially?
Excuse me? I didn't-
So at some point in time in the evening, were you at home?
Yes, I was at home.
And while you were at home, who, if anyone, reached out?
Michael Camerano and John O'Keefe.
And starting with Michael Camerano, how do you know?
I grew up with him since 6th grade. We're both from the same town, Milton.
So the two of you grew up in Milton together. You've known him essentially since then.
Yes,
How would you describe sort of your relationship with Mr. Camerano?
we're friends.
And does Mr. Camerano, does he have any children around the age of your 2 children?
Yes, he is, I believe, a 16-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son.
And his son and your son, did they do any sort of activities together?
They did. They played baseball together.
Now, you mentioned John O'Keefe as well, correct?
Yes.
And how did you know John O'Keefe?
When his sister and brother-in-law had passed, he had moved into the house that they lived in my neighborhood. And my wife knew him previously and introduced me in.
And the house that he moved into with regard to where his sister and brother-in-law lived, where was that in relation to where you lived?
An eighth of it, like not far, very easily walking distance, maybe not far.
And the house that Mr. O'Keefe moved into, who, if anyone, did he initially live there with when he moved?
He moved in there with the two, his niece and nephew.
So his niece and nephew from the couple that had passed away.
Yes,
And he had a niece named Kaylee, is that correct?
yes,
A nephew named Patrick.
yes.
And with respect to his nephew Patrick, how old was he in relation to your son and Mr. Camerano's?
Same age,
And as far as the activities,
Same-
baseball and stuff.
same baseball team. Yep.
So all three of the kids, played baseball together for several years.
Yes,
Now, at some point, did Mr. O'Keefe move away from that house that was?
he did. He did. He moved to
moved to?
One Meadows.
And sort of from your house, where was that in relation to your house?
Probably 2 or 3 miles. A lot further away.
A lot further away, sort of on the Stoughton side of Canton, is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you recall about what year it was that the kids moved over to Meadows?
Oh, maybe 2019, maybe. I'm not sure of that.
Now, at some point, over the course of through your knowing Mr. O'Keefe, did you come to know someone by the name of Karen? And when was it in relation to January 28th, 2022? About how long before that was it that you met Karen?
Probably maybe a year or two.
About a year or two before?
Yes, I don't recall exactly.
Do you recall when it was that you first met?
I think she might have came to my house, maybe with John.
Now, as far as what, if anything, did you know as far as the relationship between Miss Reed and Mr. O'Keefe?
I don't understand.
Who was Miss Reed to Mr. O'Keefe?
Oh, girlfriend. Sorry.
Nothing is your fault. It's entirely my question. Okay. Okay. So, with respect, and just so we're clear as far as what we're talking about, do you see Miss Reed in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
If you could just identify as to where she's seated or an article of clothing she's wearing.
She's seated right there.
And again, just as a record reflect identification.
Yes.
By the witness. Thank you. Now, as far as their relationship, that, and by they, I mean Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Reed, is that something that you talked to Mr. O'Keefe about?
No,
And sort of vice versa, as far as your relationship with your wife, is that something that you talked to Mr. O'Keefe about?
no.
Now, with regard to that particular evening on January 28th, 2022, you mentioned at some point that Mr. Camerano and or Mr. O'Keefe reached out to you.
They did.
And what was that in regard to? What was that conversation?
They reached out. They were at McCarthy's, the bar in Canton Center, and they wanted me to come up. And I was saying, I didn't want to. I wanted to stay in because there was a storm coming. And then he called me a pussy, and I sorry, I can't let that happen. So I had to go.
Fair enough.
So I had to go up there, and
Do you recall who it was that called you that?
it was Michael Camerano.
Let the record reflect. Okay. You receive that text and you go to CF McCarthy's, is that right?
That's right.
And you mentioned that's in Camden Center.
Yes.
And about how far a drive is that from your house to CF McCarthy's?
2.5, maybe 3 miles at best.
And do you recall about what time it was that you received that now infamous text and you go make your way to CF McCarthy's?
Yes, it was about 20 past 8.
Is that a place that you had been to before?
Not often, but I have been there before.
When you arrive to CF McCarthy's, who, if anyone, that you know is sort of there when you get there?
John O'Keefe and Michael Camerano.
And if you could, for the jury, just describe sort of what you know of sort of the inside of CF McCarthy's as far as you walk in the door and what is the layout of the bar?
Walk in the door, go to the left, and the bar's right in front of you. It's a big square bar. And then the bathrooms are in the back, and there's tables off to the left.
And where in relation to the bar and the tables and what you described were Mr. O'Keefe and Mr. Camerano when you
And walking to the left, they were on my left.
And the area where you came up to and where they were, is that essentially sort of the same area that you and the group that you were with stayed in for most of the night?
Yes.
And if you recall, so you went out to a bar, fair to say you had something, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what you were drinking that night?
I believe it was a Bud Light.
Do you recall whether that was draft or a bottle or something?
It was a bottle.
That's sort of typically what you would drink when you go out?
Back then, yes.
And with regard to Mr. Camerano and Mr. O'Keefe, do you recall what they were drinking that night?
I believe the same as me. I believe. I wasn't much paying attention to that, but that's what they normally would drink.
Now, with the with the court's permission, if I could publish to the jury portions of what's been marked as Exhibit 50, the CF McCarthy's video.
Okay.
Now, Ms. Gilman, if I could ask for the second video. And if I could ask you to push it forward to 34 minutes and 10 seconds. If you could pause it there just for a moment. Now, Mr. Roberts, direct your attention to the screen, what's been marked as Exhibit 50. Also, I believe there should be a laser pointer on the desk in front of you. So if you just click on that button and point it in a direction, you can sort of highlight it. So if I could ask you, first of all, do you recognize what's depicted up on the screen as Exhibit 50?
Yes.
And what do you recognize it to be, sir?
I see John right there and Michael right there.
And does this appear to be consistent with what you recollect as far as the interior of CF McCarthy's on January 20th?
Yes.
And this area that you just pointed out to as far as where Mr. O'Keefe and Mr. Camerano is that the area where you just testified to they essentially were during the time that you were?
Yes, it is.
Now, with respect to Mr. O'Keefe, you can see sort of what he's wearing in this video. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the clothing, at least as far as you can see, is that the clothing that you observed Mr. O'Keefe to be wearing that night?
Yes, that was what he was wearing.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could, I would ask just to play this from the 34:10 mark until 35. pause there just a moment. The gentleman that just came in through the door, do you recognize him, sir?
Yes, I do.
And who do you recognize him?
That's me.
So that was about the time that you arrived, is that correct?
Yes.
Ms. Gilman, if you could just continue it for another 32 seconds. Directing your attention still up to the screen, Mr. Roberts, there's another individual around yourself, Mr. O'Keefe and Mr. Camerano, was that correct?
Yes.
And do you recognize who that person is?
At the time, I didn't know. He doesn't look the same in this picture right now, but I believe it's Sully.
And that's someone at this time on January 28th, you didn't know who that was?
No, I did not.
You now do?
I do now. Yes.
Okay. Who do you know him to be in relation to sort of yourself and Mr. Camerano and Mr. O'Keefe?
Well, I know his son plays baseball on my son's baseball team. And I met him that night. We were talking.
This would have been the first time that you had met this person you now know as Sully.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Now, with reference to this evening, at some point, who, if anyone else, sort of came into the bar and joined your group?
Karen Reed.
And that was sometime after you had initially arrived, is that correct?
I believe so. Yes. It was after I had already been there, I believe.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could, from the same exhibit, but going to the fourth video down. And if I could ask you to bring it up to 22 minutes and 20 seconds. If you could just pause. Now, as far as Ms. Reed, you see Ms. Reed in this video?
Yes, I do.
And if you could, just using that laser pointer direct your attention to where you see Ms. Reed.
Right there.
Now, Mr. Roberts, you were, fair to say, a little reluctant to come out that evening, is that correct?
That's correct.
And as far as timing, about how long was it that you stayed at C.F. McCarthy's before you left?
It's a good hour. 1 hour.
An hour or so?
So I was home by about 10:15. I was home.
And if you recall, about how many beers did you have while you were there?
Probably 3 or 4.
And what you were drinking, was that, as far as amount was concerned, was that the same, less, more so than sort of the other people that you were with?
Probably one more. I would think. I kind of drank them kind of fast because I was taking off.
So you may have lapped them by a round or something?
Sure. Yes.
Now, you mentioned what you and Mr. O'Keefe and Mr. Camerano were drinking. What, if anything, did you observe Ms. Reed to be drinking at that?
It was a clear glass with probably a lime in it. I'm assuming a vodka tonic, maybe. I'm not positive what it was, but it was a clear glass with.
And from your prior sort of interactions or socialization with Ms. Reed, is that something that she would typically drink?
Yes, I guess I would say.
And about what time was it again that you left?
I think I left about 10 o'clock. It took me a few minutes to get home. So.
And with regard to when you left, did you sort of announce that to anybody, or how did you?
I usually don't, because then I'll have to deal with it again. But we walked out. I did. Me and Michael Camerano, I believe, about the same time. I might have been a minute or two before him. That's all.
So you sort of exit and just sort of leave, and then at some point in time, around the time that you left, Mr. Camerano left as well.
That's right.
And Ms. Gilman, from what's up here as Exhibit 50, if I could ask you to just play from this point, so about 22 minutes and 50 seconds. And thank you, Ms. Gilman. You can take that. So the camera kind of caught your body, correct?
I believe so, yes.
So fair to say that was about the time that you left.
I would say.
And with regard to during the time that you were at McCarthy's with this group, including yourself, Mr. O'Keefe, Mr. Camerano, and Ms. Reed, how would you describe sort of the general tone or demeanor of the group while you were there?
Everything very, very normal. Just a few friends out having some drinks. Nothing that stands out.
No arguing, no anything.
No.
And as far as the clothing that I asked you about with regard to what Mr. O'Keefe was wearing, when you were there that night, did you notice anything as far as tears in the clothing or any dishevelment, anything like that?
No, I didn't notice anything.
And when you were there and you were talking to Mr. O'Keefe, what, if any, sort of injuries or anything about him did you note as far as his face or anything else that you could see?
Nothing, no.
Now, once you left, where did you go?
I went home.
And do you recall when you got home?
Oh, we blipped. You'll have to hit the play button. Heels. Please stand by, or we're currently experiencing technical difficulties. Please.
I was
stand
just
by.
about to say that.
Like, if I had the ability to throw up the color bars, we would. Beep.
Oh my God. Beep. That would be great. My favorite one is the Nextel. Trying to reach a Nextel subscriber.
Heels, are you muted?
She is muted, yeah. I can see the little thing next to her name muted.
Right. I was trying to. Oh,
No.
and she fell off. She exited.
She probably
Hold
goes.
on.
It was probably frozen, I'm guessing. So
Yep. She probably had an internet blip. It's okay.
yeah.
Screen came back up. So
Yeah.
Please stand by. Maybe she
Yeah.
got a phone call. Yep.
Yeah,
Great,
that
great,
too.
great thought, blank slate. All
Definitely
right.
could have
Well,
been that.
if you need to empty your bladder and make it gladder, now would be the time.
And now would be the time, but I pee glitter, so just saying.
All right. All right.
Unicorns and rainbows, glitter, and whatnot. I mean, Kurt Roberts is hilarious because Camerano said the same thing. They called him a pussy, so that's why he went to the bar.
I couldn't let that go. I couldn't let that happen.
He said I couldn't let that happen, so I went because they called him a pussy.
Peer pressure.
Which is hilarious. Yeah, hilarious. Like, I can only imagine how that text message went. It was probably like, well, you're a pussy then if you don't want to come, just because it's snowing.
Well,
When?
Camerano said, he's like, I just said pussy. I
Called you a pussy.
And
that was great. That's great. I like to know that people are like human in a way where they're not all prim and proper 24/7, you know, that they have like a sense of humor, and like it's nice to sort of see that side of people in a trial nonetheless, like that they can actually
the human side of them. Yep.
Yeah. It puts a very human side to this entire shitstorm, that they very much were friends to the point where they could even joke around and be like, you're a pussy, you're not coming. Like,
right. The camaraderie that they had built on a number of years of friendship. I've got, each one of us probably in our lives have that person that, you can, I know back, my person back when I was out in my party days. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. If she wasn't already out in the bar, and you go on the hunt to find where your buddies are at,
Yeah.
totally.
I don't go out that often anymore, obviously, with kids.
I don't do any of that.
Right.
Um,
I go out once in a while, birthday, wedding, or just maybe a girls' night, or maybe my kid slept over her aunt and we decided to go out. It's not often, but when it does happen, you know, and you're sitting there with your friends, just sort of in the moment, having an adult timeout. It breaks my heart to think about, like, that was the last. I mean, at least they have a last
Yep.
good memory. But Katie came around. I felt so bad. She was emotional at the point where she's got to read these text messages that say like John's dead, and she's like, "Wait, are you serious, Karen? Like, do you know where he is, or did you find him?" Like, these messages, like, they broke my heart because Karen was so nonchalant about just, he's dead at 6:34 a.m. before he'd even be pronounced dead. They were
Right.
still trying to revive John at that point. And also acting like she didn't know where he was. Like, you're saying you watched him go into the house on Nightline, which we know at that point she didn't even remember leaving the bar. But on Nightline, you say you remember him going into the house. You remember him going to the house, but you're telling Katie Camerano that he can't be at his brother's house because his brother lives in East Bridgewater. So can't be there. He can't be there. Like, acting like she wouldn't have known where the last place he was, or the last place she saw him was. Doesn't help her credibility, and it doesn't help her story.
It doesn't help her in multiple places from my perspective.
Right.
Because there's lots of things that have changed. Again, I still go back to what was the original statement by the attorney and her father. It was an accident. It was a terrible accident. And had she stuck with that,
I know.
She'd probably she'd probably be free now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it would have, whatever would have happened, it would have already been over by now, whether she got suspended sentence or GPS monitoring or even sometime, it would have been over by now. Everything would have been done and over by now. And I think if she had went to trial and stuck with the whole, it was an accident thing, I think she would have not been convicted, just like Lorian Phillips. So, and I covered the Lorian Phillips story, which was very similar to this, as she hit her husband with a truck in the snow in their driveway and didn't see him until the next morning. She stayed at a hotel, came home, didn't see him, went back out, and that's when she saw him. When it was light morning, she came back out of the house and saw him, and you can see the whole video of her screaming, running towards him. So she was found not guilty on that. She didn't know. She didn't actually didn't know. So I think if Karen had stuck to it was a horrible accident and it was a blizzard and I didn't know that I hit him, I think
I agree.
She probably wouldn't be convicted.
Well, she definitely wouldn't be going through what she's going through right now, in my opinion.
They're bringing these witnesses they're bringing in on purpose. One, to prove blank slate that they were all friends and friendly with Karen, and they didn't all just hate her and it's not some giant conspiracy. And to show that John was sort of a private person. He's not going to sit there and have his he's not going to blab his business to everyone. He's going to deal with his private business in private, right? So even if to the outside world it looked like a loving couple, what you're going to see later on is going to show that there was some toxicity in that relationship that other people didn't even know about because John kept it to the privacy of his own home or private places when he wanted to have an argument with Karen or when they needed to hash things out. It wasn't something he did in front of his friends. It wasn't something he talked to his friends about. He was a very private person in that respect. And so, some of the things aren't going to make sense to you guys now, especially with I have to remember that the non-public inside information that I have, you all don't know. So I try to remember that some of the stuff you guys have no idea why it's happening. But I promise you there's a rhyme and a reason to it all. And part of the rhyme and reason here is to establish the fact that everybody pretty much liked Karen. Nobody was oh, we don't like her, don't bring her around. There was no giant conspiracy to try to frame Karen, a woman that they liked, they actually, cared about, So, I mean, where Lally is going with this is to establish John had friendships and relationships, and Karen was introduced to these people and had friendships and relationships with these people. It's not some giant conspiracy. These are real life people with real life relationships. Their children played sports together. They, traded off, whether it was going to be pick up or drop off. John, that came around. I was like, all their kids sort of were friends and played in sports together. So
it really sounds like they use the "it takes a village to raise a child" method. Like, you know, John was there. John was there for their kids. They were there for John's kids. Karen was, you know, they're showing that Karen had relationship with everyone. Hey, Trisha, I'm wondering if Heels maybe had some bad weather or an internet issue.
Let me see if I can add. Hold on. Let me see.
I don't think you're going to be able to put it on this side. I think you'll be able to put it on your side, possibly.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I should be able to screen share since we're dual streaming, so it's on my channel and her channel right now.
Heels is right, but Heels is the one that set up set it up.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? She's going to have the ultimate approval because we're on her StreamYard link. So even if I tried to share something, she's still going to have to authorize the share screen.
Mine's are just set up that way, so I don't know. I know there's like settings you can go, like she probably has her settings different than I do. Share. I mean the share screen option.
Right, and it'll give you that option. It'll just she has to add it to the stage. We're on her StreamYard. It's not like you have your own stream. You do have your own, but
but it's not on this. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't have. It won't give me the option to put it on the screen. It's in the side here,
right?
But it won't let
because
me.
Heels is the owner of the stream, so to speak. She's the one who set it up. So we're gonna have we have to wait until she comes back. She's going to be okay. Well,
who's gonna be okay?
That's what I was.
Did you read my message? What message? Are you referring to Heels is not able to come back to chat? She had an accident, is on the way to the hospital. Oh my god! All right. Okay,
oh my God.
So this is what we're gonna do. Oh my god! I hope she's okay. Holy crap! Oh no!
Shit!
Oh no!
Okay, so what'll happen? Okay, so what'll happen is that this stream will just stay, like, we'll come off of the screen. We can leave the screen. And it'll just sit with
I was just going to switch to my channel. Do you want to?
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to switch to my channel?
Yeah, that's not a problem. If you put your link in the back chat, I can come over there. What'll happen, though, is that she's going to be okay. Thank you, Trisha. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank God.
Is anybody a managing moderator for Heels? If you're a managing moderator, you may be able to turn the chat off.
Hold on. Let me get into my StreamYard first before we shut this whole
thing down. Well, we're not going to be able to shut it down. It's just going to have to stay.
Well, before we go off, you know.
Okay. Yeah. If you put that in back chat, I'm happy to come hang out over there with you too. Oh my gosh.
I feel so bad. That's terrible.
Let's just take a minute and send some good vibes to Heels.
Say a little, good prayer, you know, something.
Whatever you believe in.
Yeah.
Send her good vibes. Oh man.
Jeez. Oh man. Okay. Let me just set this up here.
Okay, yeah, because if we have a managing mod, what can happen is I think they have the ability to turn the chat off. And that would be okay because this will just sit here and run. But if we can turn the chat off, nobody would be able to say anything untoward. Or if you turned like members only on or something like that. If we have
members only. Yeah.
Thank you, Trisha, for coming in and telling us that. Gosh,
yes,
I so appreciate you for doing that. Thank you for having Heels' back. And we agree she'll be okay.
Yeah. No, poor thing. That's terrible. All right, let me get this set up here and go in here. Let me just get this.
You're okay. You are totally. We're all good right now.
Yeah. Copy that. Wow. Poor Heels.
Yes, I can. Just another troll.
All right, let's see here. Yeah, we definitely want to make sure that's not, you know.
And I
dealing
can
with
sit here
trolls.
until. No, I can see her. I know who Jat is. I just want to make sure, and I can sit here until make sure that we have a managing mod or somebody that can change it. It's not a problem.
Yeah. Let me get up here. Let me send you this link back here in private chat.
I don't know, Jat. You can send her an email. We haven't talked. We've kind of fought, like her life's been busy.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's me, Tiffany. I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah. That's thank you, Tiffany. All right. So we will keep Heels in our thoughts. We will I'll stream the trial from my channel.
I don't know if there's
Until
even a
Heels
mod.
can.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a mod that can drop your link. Well, yeah, I think we do have a mod in here that could, if you guys want to continue to watch.
I have to go live first to do it. So
Yep.
hold on, let me hit the
So you may
live
have to
button
drop out of
first.
this. You may have to drop out of this stream.
Oh yeah, shit. You're right. I probably do have to drop out of this stream. All right. Well, I'll drop out of the stream, and then maybe somebody can drop the link. If you search
Hang on.
Twisted Tragedies.
Hang on a second. You should be able to get it from YouTube and put it into private chat. Wait, I'm a mod. I should be able to put it in. I got a wrench.
There you go.
I should be able to put it in.
It's right there.
Oh, there it goes. Okay, cool.
So that goes to my channel. So what you'll do is, if you're not familiar with YouTube, once I hit the live button, you'll go to the tab that says live, and then it'll be the first one on the top. It'll have like a little button thing that says live, that I'm live. So we'll pop over there. Hope we hear from Heels, and we'll all keep her here, All right, I love you guys. I have to shut this off to be able to go over there.
We'll see you over there.
All right. Bye, guys. If I can get out.
Okay, for anybody that's just popping in, Heels had a little accident. She's going to be okay. Send her your positive vibes, your well wishes, a prayer for her. Trisha came in and let us know that something had happened. We're going to move over to Twisted Tragedies live. I don't know how we're going to get an update if somebody emails. We'll absolutely put that message in. For right now, I guess those of us with wrenches, we can do kind of double duty, and we can kind of monitor the chat, because what it'll do is it'll just be blank, and on the screen it'll just be her lava lamp background, and the chat will be running. So thank you for being here. And we're over on Twisted Tragedies. I don't know how to pin that link. Anyway, we'll be over there, and I hope you join us. Bye, guys. Can I unpin the link? I can't unpin anything, little minx. I'm not a managing mod. I mean, even if they do, they won't be able to see any. Even if they clicked the StreamYard link, they'll only go into a backstage area. They won't be able to see anything. It would be Heels' backstage area. So, oh, you got it. Runs with Scissors, can you turn on like subscribers only? Are you a managing mod? Can you see if you can change it in the chat. To maybe make it so that like you turned on like subscribers only for like 50 days or something, just until we know that this stream, because I don't want somebody to come in and make a whole bunch of nasty comments in our live stream. Do you have that ability, Runs? All right. Well, hey, Trisha said she's okay, and she's going to be okay. So we believe that, and we're going with that. So if they say that she's going to be okay and that she is okay, then we're going with that. So, all right. Well, we've given it our best shot, and we'll just continue to monitor. Right? Takes a team. Okay. I'll see you over at Twisted's. Bye, guys.